Chapter 2071. 10,000 slaughter, you won. Chapter 2071. 10,000 slaughter, you won. We're here. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Everyone from Beast's tribe stood up, stretching their necks to look at the entrance. Goblin Wolf Leader first knelt down, and then bowed to the Spirit Demon Emperor, who was floating on top of the golden throne in the sun, and then said, "King Demon, Long Fei has arrived." Long Fei raised his eyes. He stared at the levitating throne. From his angle of view, he saw that the divine seat had blocked out the sun. The afterglow of the sun burst out from behind him. Coupled with the golden radiance on his body, it formed into an extremely strong and dazzling radiance. It was just like the sun while behind Lord of Buddha. The golden light was dazzling. A super big boss. Ha ha! Long Fei's mouth revealed a smile. The eyes of the Spirit Demon Emperor on the throne twitched, and she looked at Long Fei, thousands of meters away. But in that instant, it was as if Long Fei's body was completely unable to move, as if he was bound by the Demon Emperor's gaze, and his entire body was also completely seen through as if he was unclothed. Strength, speed, cultivation base. At this moment, everything was exposed to the Demon Emperor. This feeling made Long Fei very unhappy, and he couldn't help but shout out loud, "Do you have a fetishism? Want to see it? Should I take off all my clothes and let you have a look?" Goblin Wolf Leader's heart sank. The eyes of the surrounding beasts, tribes, members changed. "How dare you speak to the Spirit Demon Emperor like that? Don't want to live anymore?" Goose Yang Ancients and Elder Lai, whose expression also changed drastically. They wanted to defend Long Fei, but seeing the Demon Emperor's expression darken, they didn't dare to say a single word. The Demon Emperor coldly asked, "You are Long Fei?" Long Fei replied casually, "I asked even though I already know the answer." So what if it was the Demon Emperor? Not to mention the Demon Emperor. Even his father wouldn't be able to take it seriously. In Long Fei's eyes, the Spirit Demon Emperor was a boss, a big boss. Did he have to respect the boss? Should he bow down to the boss? Would he want to play the League of Heroes to show filial respect to Dalong? The Demon Emperor's eyes became even colder. Many Demon Clan leaders on the side bellowed, "Kid, do you know who the person talking to you is? Be honest, don't fail to appreciate my kindness. Just look at him. He's tired of living. King Demon, no need to waste words with him. Activate him directly. Kill him. You dare to be this disrespectful to King Demon." One berating voice after another sounded out. In their hearts, the Demon Emperor was the supreme protector of them all. The reason the Deep Abyss Mountain had developed to this day was because they had the protection of the Demon Emperor. 100,000 planes. That was him, the Demon Emperor. Long Fei took a step forward, but was stopped by Big Sis. She lightly shook her head and said, "Hubby, don't go. Don't go. Beasts, Eriba can't fight." Long Fei said, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." The old lady of the fox race said indifferently, "Beasts, Eriba, it's not a one-on-one battle, but a group fight. It's a group fight with you. No one can withstand this kind of fight, even if you grasp the power of the ancient code. Even if you have some special power, once you enter the Beasts, Eriba, you will only have one outcome. You will die." And he died, without a complete corpse. The Goblin Wolf Leader slightly said, "Master, if you can hold it in, and if you win, then you are the person from the prophecy. You will rule over all of Beast tribes." A duel to become a gang fight, and it was 10,000 people beating him up. The challenge was difficult, and not just in terms of difficulty. The 1,000 Goblin tribe was fine, but the thing that Long Fei was truly afraid of was the Demon Emperor on the divine throne. The energy aura on his body was extremely dense, to the point that it was almost unshakable. However, if he wanted to defeat the boss, he had to do it through the Beast's Eriba. Only by winning could he challenge the boss. Then again, if he won, he would be able to rule over the Deep Abyss Mountains goblin tribes. To Long Fei, this was an extremely strong power, and he needed this kind of power to support him. He needed them to enter the battleground. At this moment, the spirit demon emperor laughed lightly. Long Fei, you don't dare? You can choose to give up. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. His smile was filled with contempt. In the beast's Eriba, no one had been able to last until the very end. The man in the prophecy, Long Fei, was nothing. Right now, he was only unhappy with the demon emperor. The tone of the demon emperor's voice made him feel extremely unhappy. And again, how could a boss not be killed? Fight. Chapter 2072, Blast Everything. Chapter 2072, Blast Everything. Long Fei never submitted. Looking at the disdainful expression on the demon emperor's face, Long Fei smiled lightly and said, I have given up, and you still want to be the demon emperor who rules over the 1,000 goblins. Ha ha. Long Fei rubbed the bridge of his nose and said, there is nothing in this world that I, Long Fei, do not dare to do. Come, let me witness your beast's Eriba. As soon as he finished, Long Fei's figure moved. Wang. He landed right in the middle of the arena with a powerful force. He swept his gaze across the entire arena and arrogantly said, those who want to die, get the hell down here. Quite wild. When his voice fell, Beast Tribes was even more enraged and seethed with anger. 2F** King Arrogant. How dare he act so arrogantly in our holy mountain? If we don't beat him down, I won't believe you today. King Demon, give the order. I can't wait any longer. Humans tremble. With such an appearance, I wouldn't be convinced even if it's the person in the prophecy. For a moment, killing intent rose in his heart. The demon beast were all abnormally cruel, and cruel. They were even more so, as if they wanted to tear Long Fei apart. The spirit demon emperor's eyes grew cold, looking at Long Fei, who was in the center of the stage. His finger moved slightly, and he said, since you have jumped onto the stage, then we shall begin. He coldly said, go. In that instant, the tens of thousands of spirit demon tribes in the Deep Abyss Mountainess in the surrounding area all flew down. It was strange. The stage in the center of the plaza looked small, only less than 100 square meters, but it was large enough to hold over 10,000 warriors, and it was also very spacious. Obviously, this was a strange boundary arena. Gu Xiang Ancient looked at Elder Lai Hu and said, should we make a move? Fierce Tiger said, we have already lost. Do you want to lose again? Gu Xiang Ancient was stunned for a moment and did not say a word. In the center of the arena, the clothes on Long Fei's body fluttered, and countless demon warriors stood around him. Over 10,000 demon warrior. Some of them had transformed into beasts the moment they appeared, into their most primitive form. An angry growl escaped his throat. Saliva dripped down. To them, Long Fei was a rare delicacy. The blood essence on Long Fei's body smelled of craving. Long Fei lightly hooked his finger and said, come, roar. A crimson-red gorilla rushed out from his beast form, causing the stage to shake, the immense pressure pressing down on Long Fei like a thick wall. Roar. Both of his fists hugged as he smashed them down at Long Fei. Get on the ground. It was incomparably violent. He erupted with his most primal of strengths. His fists turned into axes, slashing through the air and striking Long Fei on the head. Bang, 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 bang. Its attack speed was as fast as lightning. Blood splattered everywhere. Long Fei's entire body was covered in blood. The over 1 million worth of blood from the gigantic elephant shield above his head had all been used up. The power of these demon warrior, as thought very fiercely. He couldn't defend at all. Long Fei did not try to defend himself either. The anger mixture entered his body. Long Fei's body erupted with a blood-red light. With a furious roar, in that instant, a fist landed on his face. Long Fei was beyond furious, and she moved her left arm. A Buddhist light burst forth. Power of Buddha! Rumble! A fist shot out, and in that instant, the power of thunder and lightning that came with it exploded out. The surrounding lightning field was struck into nothingness. A large part of the demon warrior's were blasted away. He also saw the cold and disdainful look on the demon emperor's face. His face was extremely ugly. The spirit demon emperor looked at Long Fei and sneered, showing no interest in watching further. The power of Buddha was seen through by him. He had already known about the power of Buddha on Long Fei from the very beginning. **CK. Long Fei cursed in his heart. With a move of his right hand, the Yama edge descended. Boom! With his black broadsaber, Long Fei leaped up and increased the distance between them. With a flip of his body, he threw out a slash. Thousands of people beheaded. Boom! Another large number of demon warrior were blasted away. Long Fei did not stop. Divine power surged as the death blade chi on the Yama edge dispersed. In that instant, the dragon-shaped mark on Long Fei's arm flashed a little. This little bit of light had fused with the black blade chi. 10,000 years in a second, time seemed to stand still. Following that, rumble! The entire arena broke apart. The spirit demon emperor suddenly stood up and stared at Long Fei. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2073, Beast Transformation by the Demon Emperor. Chapter 2073, Beast Transformation by the Demon Emperor. Who else? Long Fei stood in the center of the stage and let out a heavy roar, his voice brimming with a limitless domineering aura. With a single glance, he swept across the entire arena, and in the end, his gaze landed on the Demon Emperor's body. Their eyes met. An explosive sound resounded in the air as the two powers collided. The dense chi continued to interweave together, killing intent, anger. It was incomparably savage. It was as if they were the only two people left in the world. Beasts Eriba, 10,000 demon warrior, were directly blasted away by Long Fei, leaving him alone on the stage. How powerful was this? The surroundings were in disarray as he painfully howled at the demon warrior on the ground. The tens of thousands of warrior were screaming in pain. Those demon clan members who didn't enter the arena were immediately scared silly. Since the birth of the beasts Eriba, not a single human had been able to survive, let alone all of the warrior-s. Awesome. There was only two words that could describe Long Fei. Gu Xiang Ancient's heart shook as he muttered to himself in a low voice. Looks like he really is the Long Fei on the sacred monument. He really is the human that was predicted. Elder Lai, whose heart also sank as he became incomparably excited. The demon wolf, on the other hand, laughed out loud. Ha ha! The old fox woman had an awkward expression. The twins mischievously laughed and giggled. I knew Master Long Fei wouldn't lose. Hee hee. The girls felt relieved as well. Looking at Long Fei, who was on the stage, their hearts started to admire him even more, and they started to crazily love this man even more. After a long time, the Gu Xiang Ancient said in unison and said lightly, King Demon Beasts Eriba has passed. He should be the one who predicted it. Without waiting for Gu Xiang Ancient to finish speaking, the Demon Emperor coldly shouted and said, Did you pass? Am I not still here? As soon as he finished, the eyes of the entire demonic clan turned cold. Is the Demon Emperor going to make his move? The Demon Emperor was about to make his move. They had never seen the demon emperor take action, but no one doubted his strength. Gu Xiang Ancient said, "This king demon, he should not be wrong, so there's no need for you to personally test him, right?" The spirit demon emperor stared at Gu Xiang Ancient. Gu Xiang Ancient immediately knelt on the ground, not daring to say a single word more. The spirit demon emperor coldly replied, "I am the demon emperor, the ruler of the deep abyss mountain. I say whatever I say, whether or not he is the person in the prophecy. I have the final say." His voice was filled with rage. As he spoke, his eyes became even colder as he stared at Long Fei. Long Fei grinned and laughed. "I was just afraid that you wouldn't come." How could he let go of a big boss? The demon emperor smiled coldly and said, "All right, then let's see how you protect the thing you should be protecting." In that instant, the voice of the spirit demon emperor moved and suddenly disappeared. Long Fei raised his eyes, and in an instant he crossed his arms in front of his chest. Boom! Under the attack of the spirit demon emperor, the thick and strong spirit demon power came crushing down. Long Fei's arms went numb, and he couldn't take it any longer as he retreated. "So fierce!" Long Fei shouted. And the moment the demon emperor appeared, his gaze tightened and locked onto him. Ding! Target locked. Buzz! Long Fei roared out with his strength in his heart. "Power of the killing principle. Activate! The power of the sky principle. Open! Fuse!" Under Long Fei's domineering power, the two powers of the ancient code fused into the ultimate boxing. His fist sank. He faced the sky and exploded. Long Fei roared, "Lie down!" Boom! Boom! When the blasting fist was blasted out, its power was like a flame as it followed the demon emperor into the void. This should be the strongest power of the blasting fist. Blasting fist. Once locked on, he would be able to kill. With two law energies added together, who could resist them? Long Fei's strength had once again exceeded his expectations. Seeing the fist wind that was like flames attacking him, he did not let his guard down. The sound of explosions resounded through the air like thunder. To die or not to die? The sky was like a battlefield, constantly exploding. Long Fei did not know what happened, but he did not relax because the system beep did not make a sound. Even if a mosquito was killed, a system notification would sound. But after half a minute, the only sound that could be heard was a series of explosions. But they did not hear the sound of the system beep, which meant that the spirit demon emperor was not dead. Long Fei's eyes turned serious. A spirit demon emperor that can block the blasting fist of the ancient code. In that instant, the void shattered as a golden lion charged down. Chapter 2074, Long Janting. Chapter 2074, Long Janting Golden Lion. In that instant, the entire audience was stunned. Beast form of the demon emperor. Oh my God! He can actually force the demon emperor into a beast form. What was that move just now? The demon emperor is going to die if he transforms into a beast. It definitely won't be able to block the demon emperor's beast transformation power. The beast transmogrification power of the demon race would become stronger, and the primordial power would burst forth with it. What happened in the void, forcing the demon emperor to transform into a beast? Long Fei did not know either, but he was also thinking about this problem. If even the afterimage of Zhan Wushuang could not endure the power of the ancient code blasting fist, then was the demon emperor stronger than Zhan Wushuang? Without waiting for him to consider all of these, his body sank. Roar! A roar. The golden lion pounced downwards. Long Fei was not willing to be outdone, so he met it head on. However, it all happened in one fell swoop. Long Fei's body fell from the sky. Before he could even get close to the Golden Lion King, he was only hit by the Golden Lion's aura. His body wouldn't be able to take it. Boom. Bang. He hit the stage heavily. Pooh. Long Fei spat out a mouthful of blood, his face becoming pale white. As though his chest was being ripped apart, the pain was unbearable. Looking at the gigantic golden lion in the sky, its entire body flickering with a golden light, Long Fei smacked the ground with his right palm and shouted, "Again!" Buzz. The Yama edge landed in his hand and leaped into the air. The Yama edge in his hand released a death blade chi, and he fiercely chopped down. Rumble. Golden light burst forth, but the golden lion remained motionless. The kind of air shield in his body had completely blocked Long Fei's attack, and could not even harm him in the slightest. F***CK. Long Fei cursed in his heart, looking at the golden lion. He thought to himself, how strong is this defense? In that instant, the golden lion disappeared. Long Fei's heart went cold. Crap. He couldn't feel the golden lion's place. Rules of movement. Long Fei had not felt any fluctuations of power at all. The realm of the middle god was like a piece of trash, completely useless. Boom. It tore through the air and fiercely stabbed forward. Puchi. Long Fei didn't have time to react before he was sent flying once again. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, he fell down heavily, not waiting for Long Fei to hit the ground. The Golden Lion King madly smashed downwards, smashing against his chest, just like a lightning bolt, each time it would strike a point. Once, Long Fei's body would be blasted out of its concave shape, just like a skin shrimp. He couldn't stop it at all. His body's defensive power couldn't even be released, completely unable to keep up with his reaction. He was the Demon Emperor. It was as if he had entered a bottomless abyss of darkness. I'm so tired. I'm really so tired. It's like I'm sleeping. I think I'll stop to rest for a bit. Slowly, Long Fei closed his eyes. His heart sank into the abyss, and with a plop, he lay still. Think of nothing, do nothing. He just wanted to fall asleep. Suddenly, boss, you dare to hurt my boss. I'll kill you. When Li Yuanba saw Long Fei lying in a pool of blood and not moving an inch on the ground, his fury exploded to the pinnacle in an instant, as though he had entered the body of the Vajra body in an instant. He rushed forward arrogantly. Heavenly Spirit, descending dragon, also charged towards the Golden Lion with complete disregard. Ziyu, on the other hand, rushed towards Long Fei while disregarding her own safety, as tears unknowingly flowed out of her eyes. Hanba roared, a dense power of disaster surging out. Among Long Fei's Sumi rings, Jojo's heart suddenly trembled. She stopped looking for the direction to go. She suddenly froze where she was and muttered, "Young master?" She felt something in her heart. For some reason, he suddenly felt uncomfortable. His heart ached. Other than killing Long Fei, there was nothing else in her mind, but right now it was as if he had never used this emotion before. This feeling was one of longing. A name popped into his mind. Young master. He didn't know why. Yi Zichen stood there in a daze. Boss. Long Fei. One voice after another sounded like they came from beyond the heavens. Long Fei felt that his vision was becoming more and more blurry, and the sound was also becoming softer and softer. In the end, he could no longer hear anything. His heart closed. No matter how loud the voice was, it could not be heard. Suddenly, just as Long Fei's heart was about to enter the bottomless abyss, a benevolent voice filled with love sounded out, "Feier." Chapter 2075, Power of the Dark. Chapter 2075, Power of the Dark, a Voice. Long Fei's silent heart seemed to have recovered her heartbeat. Plop! The idea moved and suddenly stood up in the bottomless abyss, looking at the direction of the voice. It anxiously called out, "Father!" The voice was extremely familiar. It was precisely his father, Long Zhanting's voice. A middle-aged man walked out of the darkness. With a benevolent smile on his face, he looked at Long Fei and said, "Feier." Long Fei rushed forward, and in an instant he couldn't help but choke back his emotions and said, "Father, I missed you so much. I miss my mother so much. I miss you guys so much." Long Zhanting's Adam's apple bobbed up and down as he choked with emotion. "Feier, Father also missed you. I believe your mother is also missing you. I believe that our family will eventually reunite one day." Long Fei asked anxiously, "Where is Mother?" Long Zhanting shook his head. "I can't tell you now. Even if you know now, it's useless." Without waiting for Long Zhanting to finish speaking, Long Fei said with a wry smile, "I'm too weak now. I know that the Long residents and Mother's Mu Clan S are in great danger. I know that it's all because of me. I know that I'm useless. I know that I can't save Mother. I know that I can't save the Long residents. I know that I can't save everyone beside me. I know." As he spoke, Long Fei's tears fell. He wasn't willing to accept this. He was doing his best, risking his life, but his enemy was too strong. Forget about the big boss in the universal world. He couldn't even handle these 100,000 planes. How could he face those super unrivaled powerhouse? He really couldn't take it. Long Zhanting said, "You are currently very strong, much faster than I expected. A lot. Also, the ancient world's power in your body has begun to awaken. Feier, you're stronger than anyone. No one can beat you. No one can. The Destiny God cannot. The Sky God cannot. Zhan Wushuang, the Sovereign, and the Demon Emperor's Golden Lion cannot as well. What you have to do is to keep that fearless heart of yours alive." Fearless heart? Long Fei asked, "What exactly is it?" The meaning behind the fearless heart's words were very simple. However, it must have some other meaning. Otherwise, his father, his mother, would tell him more than once to keep his heart on edge. Long Zhanting said indifferently, "You will know in the future. Feier, even though your mother and I are not by your side, we will always watch over you. When you enter the universal large world one day, the entire world will tremble for you, and we will once again reunite." Long Zhanting said, lightly. He understood how heavy the burden on Long Fei's shoulders was. He also understood what kind of heavy mission Long Fei was carrying. However, from the gods' martial continent to the primordial divine war, how long did Long Fei use? More than 10 years. Who could be so fast? To those super powerhouse, 10-odd years of time were nothing more than the flick of a finger. For Long Fei to be able to do this had already exceeded his expectations. This was inseparable from his efforts. And now he couldn't fall down. He had to continue forward, because he had to rely on his own strength to pass through the 100,000 planes of this trial ground. These 100,000 planes would be the first starting point of his life. Can't fall down. Long Zhanting's figure slowly retreated into the darkness, his voice also becoming fainter and fainter as he said, "Feier, training together is all to make you stronger. Hurry up and wake up, Li Yuanba, and the others are still waiting for you. A lot of people are watching you and waiting for you to wake up. Wake up." Long Fei wanted to follow him, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not catch up to his father's figure. He anxiously asked, "Father, can you not leave? Can you take me to see Mother? Can you take me to find Grandfather and the others?" Long Zhanting's voice sounded at the end. You will meet them. As long as you maintain your fearless heart-s pace, you will see everything. Feier, Mother is waiting for you. Dragon Manor, Mu Clan is waiting for you. I was waiting for you too. Go for it. As his figure disappeared, so did his voice. In the infernal realm, the corner of Long Zhanting's eyes moistened as his heart grew heavy. Fair, it's been hard on you, my child. If he could, he was willing to bear all of the pain and suffering on Long Fei's body, and he was even willing to undertake the mission that Long Fei had entrusted to him. However, none of this works. Everything that Long Fei had experienced, he had to endure by himself, carry it, and walk on the thorny path step by step. Only then would he be able to grow. Only then would he be able to break through, to save everything. Otherwise, everything that the Long residents and Mu clan had done was in vain. Not only in the past, but now, and even in the future, everything was in vain. If that were the case, the Long residents and Mu clan-s would face annihilation on Long Fei's body due to excessive waste of resources. Father, father. In the bottomless abyss, Long Fei shouted with all his might. There was no response from his father. Long Fei's heart sank again and said, "What else can I do?" "Mother, what can I do?" Suddenly, Li Yuanba's angry roar exploded in Long Fei's mind. "Injuring my boss." The sound exploded. Long Fei's heart was shocked. "Yuanba, brother." Ziyu's voice rang out as well. "Ah." Long Fei muttered, "My woman." Hanba also hysterically roared out, "Friend." Amidst the Sumi rings, Jojo's voice sounded out in Long Fei's mind. "Young master." It was just a light sentence. Long Fei's heart fiercely trembled. "Jojo." Chapter 2076. I'll show you what qualification is. Chapter 2076. I'll show you what qualification is. The system beep descended. The black mist surrounding Long Fei's body suddenly retracted, and the dragon-shaped mark returned to its previous tranquility without any fluctuations. However, the power Long Fei felt in his heart was completely different. Excited, overjoyed, he could not help but think in his heart, the power of the shadows. Is this the power of the ancient world? Is this the ancient inheritance in my body? He didn't know. He only knew that this hidden power was abnormally strong, so strong that he had to use all the divine power in his body to release it. He had never seen such a skill. "Boss! Boss! Boss!" Li Yuanba exclaimed excitedly as he looked at Long Fei, who was in midair. The evil aura on his body also receded along with it. His body could not help but return to its original state. With the body of the Vajra body being overtaxed, Li Yuanba almost couldn't stand steadily. However, he did not care about what happened to himself at all. He wore an excited smile on his face, because Long Fei had lived anew and had stood up anew. That was enough. The same goes for the descending dragon. However, several wounds appeared on their bodies. Hanba did the same. Looking at Long Fei, he felt an indescribable feeling of excitement in his heart. For some reason, this feeling was just this strong. Just like a lighthouse in a world of confusion, the light that began to weaken instantly turned into a beam that illuminated thousands of kilometers. As for the violet-robed man, he was crying tears of joy. He stood up. "Hubby! Ha ha ha!" He actually stood up. So what if you stand up? Even if he were to stand up 100 times, the result would still be the same. His strength is not a match for the king demon at all. Exactly. The demon emperor in his beast transformation state can be said to be invincible. The Fox Race's girls were happy. The surrounding demon clan members disdainfully ridiculed him. When Long Fei stood up, it was the same as when he did not. There would be no change in the outcome. Long Fei would still lie on the ground like before. Furthermore, never get up. Long Fei's gaze became slightly serious as he said, "Tianling, descending dragon, stand down and protect Yuan Ba. Leave this boss to me. Long Fei looked at the demon emperor, who was covered in a thick layer of golden air shield, and said coldly, "Earlier, you asked me what basis I have and what qualifications I have. I'll tell you now, just based on the fact that I am Long Fei, just because I can be as strong as the main temple, just because I'm not afraid of you. What about you? So what if they are demon clan commanders? What did you do? What did you do?" He obviously controls the power of the magic rule, and he's clearly just a golden lion king. Yet he's hiding inside the dog hole like a dog. Long Fei said one sentence after another. "There aren't that many reasons in this world. Just do it. Anything is possible." What the F***K was he going to do if he just sat there and waited for death? Like a dog. Crack! The two golden eyes of the demon emperor darkened as fury burst forth from him. The surrounding demon clan warrior was even more furious and despised him. "You dare to call King Demon a dog? You're courting death. He's simply courting death. King Demon, kill him. Kill him." For a moment, Long Fei infuriated the beast tribes, and countless of people were roaring loudly. The demon emperor's position in their hearts was incredibly sacred. No one is to be insulted. Long Fei's words were undoubtedly an insult to the demon emperor, as if he was humiliating the entire Deep Abyss Mountains demon clan. Only the Gu Xiang Ancient, Elder Lai Hu, and a few other people had their heads buried. Indeed, the spirit demon emperor was very powerful, very powerful. Even the gods in main temple might not be his match. However, all these years, other than the demon tribes that he had never cared about in the Deep Abyss Mountain, he had never said a word. He was the commander of the demon race, but this had nothing to do with him. Of course, they were not demon emperors. They did not know what the demon emperor was thinking. The spirit demon emperor looked at Long Fei and laughed coldly. "Seems like you found a way to deal with the polar storm. It seems like you also found a way to open the ancient entry." Long Fei shouted, "No, not a single one." The demon emperor said in disdain, "Since there isn't any, what qualifications do you have to teach me a lesson?" A defeated opponent. He emphasized the word defeated heavily. He was using these 4 words to remind Long Fei, "You're not fit to teach me a lesson." In this world, strength was what mattered. A defeated opponent simply didn't have the qualifications. Long Fei smirked and said, "You'll know what qualifications I have." As soon as he finished, Long Fei's right hand formed a claw with 5 fingers, and a ball of dark mist rose from his palm. The demon emperor's forehead tightened. New power? Just now, Long Fei did not use it, nor did he see the fluctuation of this kind of power from Long Fei's body. Long Fei said indifferently, "That's right." The demon emperor sneered and said, "Even if you had more power, it would still be useless against me." Long Fei, despair, "You can't take on this burden. Even if you are the person in the prophecy, you can't." Cold contempt. So what if Long Fei obtained a new power? He also didn't care about it, because this was the Deep Abyss Mountain, the world which he ruled. Here, he is the king. Long Fei's gaze darkened as he said, "Whether or not I can bear the burden will be known after I bear the burden. I am not like you, who is cowering in a dog hole." He had humiliated the demon emperor once again. The anger in the demon emperor's heart flared up once again as he roared, "You're courting death." In that instant, shwa, a golden light exploded, and a lion's roar resounded in the air. The golden light filled the sky and came crushing down. The 3 mighty golems raised their heads to stare at the skies, their fists clenched tightly. She was worried for Long Fei. Foxwoman was the same. Long Fei stood in place motionlessly and said with a cold smile, "Then let's see who's courting death." Right at the moment when the golden light was about to fall, Long Fei suddenly moved. The black light exploded, as if he was a spirit with consciousness before the demon emperor's power even descended. He directly absorbed all of the golden light. Long Fei could clearly feel it. The energy released by the demon emperor was completely sucked into the black hole. The heck? This is the power of the dark. Long Fei was shocked. The golden light was being devoured. The hidden force Long Fei released also instantly penetrated through and wrapped around the demon emperor's body. In that instant, Long Fei followed the rules of moving the hidden force and took a step forward. Boom! It landed in front of the Golden Lion King. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly, revealing a sinister smile, and said, "I'll let you know what qualifications are." Chapter 2077. The Dark Force of Zero. Chapter 2077. The Dark Force of Zero. A punch flew out. The spirit demon emperor was disdainful. His golden lion shield was a magic rule. Even if Long Fei trained in it, the killing principle would not be able to destroy it. His defense was something that Long Fei could not shake. However, his disdainful expression instantly stiffened. Boom! A solid punch landed on his face, causing blood to spurt out from his nose. It seemed like his golden lion shield was just a decoration. No, to be exact, all of his defenses were for decoration. Blood sprayed out from his fist. Even the demon emperor himself felt a little stunned. Even if he did not have the golden lion shield, even if he did not have the power of the magic rule, just based on his physical defense alone, Long Fei would not have been able to harm him. Yet, the blow had caused blood to spurt out from his nose. What happened to the demon emperor? The demon emperor is injured. How is that possible? He defeated the magic rule in one move. Am I seeing things? What happened? Beast Tribes was also in a stupefied state. If it weren't for the fact that the blood on the demon emperor's nose was still spurting out like crazy, many people would have thought that they were seeing things. The demon emperor's eyes darkened as the power in his body exploded out once again. Buzz. However, at this moment, the power of the darkness surrounding his body was engulfed and absorbed into the black hole. Long Fei punched out again. Bam! His front teeth were knocked out, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was in a stupefied state, and he was completely dumbstruck. He did not know why all of the defenses on his body had disappeared, and all of the energy he released had disappeared. Furthermore, right now, he was not even comparable to an ordinary disciple of the demon clan. This was the same as a normal human being who had never had a martial arts training before. Zero defense, zero attack, zero speed, zero cultivation. This feeling, maddening, it made the spirit demon emperor go crazy, but it made Long Fei excited. He was ecstatic in his heart. Motherf Asterisker. This is the power of the shadows. This is the power of the shadows. Isn't that too outrageous? Devour everything. Absolute zero. Ha ha ha. That's great. Long Fei roared out. Although he did not know what was going on with the demon emperor, he was a little clear about how powerful the power of the darkness was. After releasing the power of the darkness, all the holy power value on Long Fei's body disappeared. Tens of millions of holy power value became zero. The consumption of the power of the darkness did not have a specific amount, as its release used up all of its holy power value. The more holy power value there was, the stronger the endurance would be. Long Fei thought that expending the energy in the air using his holy power value was an incredibly powerful killing move. After unleashing his incomparable power, he was still a little worried that he wouldn't have the strength to use another cultivation technique after releasing his hidden strength. From the looks of it, there was no need to worry at all. The power of the darkness was zero, absolute zero. It would swallow the opponent into nothingness. Such a powerful existence. While he's sick, take his life. In an instant, Long Fei's fists were like a violent storm as he punched out. Every single punch he threw out caused him to shout, "Qualification, qualifications, qualifications, are you enough? Is it enough? I'm just asking you, is that enough?" Bang, 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 bang. From the sky all the way to the ground, Long Fei rode on the body of the spirit demon emperor, madly exploding at his head, venting out the anger in his heart. He was unhappy. It was quite unpleasant. He almost lost his will to fight just because of a few words from the demon emperor. "I almost died here. If the demon emperor gave him one last heavy blow, he would definitely die. However, why hadn't he punched himself in the end? What kind of powerhouse was the demon emperor? Would he not know the principle of taking his life while he was ill? But why did he not kill him in the end? Disdain? Mercy? Probably not." Long Fei roared as he shouted, "Are you qualified enough?" There was not a single sound from the top of the sacred mountain as all of them looked towards Long Fei. They didn't know why Long Fei had suddenly become so strong. He did not know why the demon emperor had suddenly been crushed, and he did not even have the chance to retaliate. They could only watch on dumbfoundedly, unable to do anything. The demon emperor had been blown into a human shape. He could not endure the beast transmogrification any longer and had even turned into a human form. His face had even been smashed to smithereens. However, he did not let out a single scream of pain. However, a trace of a smile was revealed on his face. He seemed to be very pleased with himself. Happy, an excited smile. Long Fei did not understand and said solemnly, "What are you laughing about?" The demon emperor said, "I'm laughing at how strong you are. I'm laughing at how you are the prophetic person. I'm feeling happy." Huh. Long Fei's eyes turned cold. When he looked at the spirit demon emperor more seriously, he did not see any trace of the boss's golden glow on his body. Just the glow that was released by the magic rule. Just now was the glow that came from the Golden Lion King's unique attributes. Now that the magic rule's hidden strength was tightly suppressed, his golden lion's strength was also suppressed. There was not a trace of light left on his body. He's not a boss. Long Fei's heart sank as he asked, "Who are you?" The demon emperor looked at Long Fei, his eyes not showing the slightest desire to fight, and said weakly, "I am the one who was waiting for you. The one who saved the demon clan all those years ago told me to wait for you here. She's your mother." At this moment, Long Fei's body trembled, and a droning sound came from his head as he asked in a low voice, "Then why did you—" He didn't understand. Why is the demon emperor doing this? Right now, the demon emperor only had a tiny bit of health left. It could be said that he had used up all of his energy. So what was there to do? The demon emperor did not feel any pain from the injuries on his body. With a smile still hanging on his face, he said, "Three tribes has the three tribes' mission. I have my mission. Long Fei, my mission is to wait for you. Then she will pass on to you the magic rule that your mother passed on to me. But I am too conceited, too underestimating your potential. You're really strong, just like your mother said. Every second you're changing. Every second you're stronger than the last. Long Fei, come, kill me." Finished. The demon emperor closed his eyes. Long Fei's body trembled. He saw that the demon emperor was asking for death. But Long Fei did not move. He felt that the demon emperor was not lying to him. He was waiting for him. The spirit demon emperor saw that Long Fei did not make a move, and said again, "If you kill me, you will obtain all of my inheritance. Long Fei, my lifespan is already gone. It is your mother's power that has allowed me to hold on till now. All these years I have been in seclusion and did not come out in order to reduce the consumption of my lifespan, waiting for you to appear. If you kill me, you can obtain my inheritance, you can become a demon emperor, you can become the ruler of the deep abyss mountain. Faster! Kill me! This was also what Mu Wanner had instructed them to do. This was the most direct method for Long Fei to absorb his inheritance. This was also the demon emperor's own choice. Long Fei was unwilling to help, so the spirit demon emperor's body bounced and crashed into Long Fei's forehead. The last bit of blood on his head fell. The spirit demon emperor fell to the ground slowly with a smile. The system sounded out. Ding. Chapter 2078, Demon Emperor's Explosion. Chapter 2078, Demon Emperor's Explosion. Long Fei was startled. He did not have time to react as the spirit demon emperor suddenly charged at him. Moreover, in that instant, the power of darkness had already disappeared, yet he had retracted all of his defenses and powers. He's like this, just seeking death. For him, all these years of waiting were just for Long Fei to appear. He had lived for so many years with extreme caution, and he treasured every minute and every second because he was worried that he would not be able to wait until the day Long Fei appeared. When he heard that Long Fei had appeared, came to the front of the sacred tablet, and saw that the name was exactly the same as the name on the tablet, and even the handwriting was exactly the same, he knew that the person he was waiting for had appeared. Thus, from that moment on, he made all his preparations. He wanted to repay Mu Wanner for saving his life, repay her for passing on her legacy, and repay her for everything she had done to the spirit demon race. Die, let Long Fei obtain all of his strength. This was the best form of repayment. This was also the limit of what he could do. The system beep rang. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Demon Emperor Golden Lion, for obtaining 10 million experience, 10 million holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Demon Emperor's legacy. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at Middle God, level 2. The system beep continuously rang out, dropped items, and leveled up. They should have been happy about this, but... However, Long Fei was unable to get happy. He looked depressed. Looking at the Demon Emperor's legacy floating in the system, his heart tightened. He didn't feel good in his heart either. The Demon Emperor had used his entire life to help him. Was this what he was after? Long Fei's heart became complicated. He didn't know how to face it. Killing off holy artifact and dropping equipment should be something to be happy about. This was the only time Long Fei wasn't happy about it. At this moment, Guxiang Ancient walked up and looked at the Demon Emperor's corpse as he knelt down and kowtowed heavily, then looked at Long Fei and said, "My lord, the Demon Emperor's choice was not wrong. His lifespan was exhausted long ago, and he managed to survive until now by relying on only one breath. He was waiting for you. You are now the Demon Emperor. You must become the Demon Emperor and lead us out of the deep abyss mountain towards the peak of what you have said." At this moment, Goblin Wolf Leader also walked over and knelt in front of Long Fei. Elder Lai, who also knelt down. Everyone from 3 tribes all kneeled down. Next, one by one, the thousands of demon tribes kneeled down. They had heard the spirit demon emperor's words clearly. Long Fei was the spirit demon emperor, the new demon emperor. Long Fei frowned. The Guxiang Ancient said, "Master, everyone has their own mission. The mission of our entire deep abyss mountain is to wait for your appearance. The demon emperor did it in order to pass on his legacy to you. If you don't accept all of this now, then what the demon emperor has spent millions of years doing is equivalent to wasting his time. Then, the hope that the deep abyss mountain's demons are waiting for will be shattered as well. My lord, Goose Young Ancient replied heavily. Then, Goblin Wolf Leader roared, King Demon! Boom! The sound of the explosion shook the entire peak of the True God Mountain. Soon after, tens of thousands of demons roared and shouted in unison, King Demon! Boom! Boom, boom! Layers upon layers of bombardment shook the 9 heavens. A huge commotion. Long Fei slightly raised his eyes and tightened his gaze. He stood up, looked at the surrounding demons, kneeling in worship, clenched his fists tightly, and said, Okay, from now on, I am the Demon Emperor. It was also at this time the sky shook in the direction of the main temple. The Deep Abyss Mountain's Demon Emperor has fallen. Ha! Ha ha ha! This is a joyous occasion. The magic rule that the spirit Demon Emperor controls is not any worse than the power of the ancient code that we control. Ha ha ha! The disturbance just now was as though they were kneeling in worship of the new Demon Emperor. The new Demon Emperor? So what? A Demon Emperor without a magic rule is just trash, not even a threat. That's true. While they were talking, at the peak of the extreme deep Holy Mountain, Long Fei moved and roared, Release your metamorphic energy value. Since he accepted it, then the Demon Emperor's inheritance would be brought to its peak realm. He had used his life to help him. If he did not display his full strength, it would be an insult to the Demon Emperor. Release of metamorphic energy value. The power of the Demon Emperor's inheritance suddenly moved and emitted a violent sound. Rumble! The 9 heavens shook. The main temple shook slightly, and all of the gods in the main temple opened their eyes and stared fixedly in the direction of the Deep Abyss Mountain. Power of laws. Could it be? Is the magic rule being controlled again? The new Demon Emperor. Who is it? Every single Tao law was an incomparably powerful force that even the gods of Main Temple wanted to possess. Buzz. A loud sound echoed out, followed by a notification sound. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the limits of the magic rule. Do you wish to fuse it? Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining Everlasting Summoning Golden Lion King S. Do you wish to receive them? 2 notifications sounded. Long Fei was ecstatic. He can summon Golden Lion King? Ha ha ha! And it's a permanent summon. And then he could not care about fusing with the magic rule, but rather he moved his idea and summoned it. Rumble! The air exploded, and an incomparably strong Golden Lion King rushed out of nowhere and landed in front of Long Fei with a loud voice. King Demon, Beast's tribes was stunned. Demon Emperor? Long Fei looked at the Golden Lion King. Demon Emperor. The Golden Lion King let out an excited roar and said, Thank you, King Demon. This is my new student. Stronger than before. He did not know why, but he knew that it was definitely related to Long Fei. He was already dead in order to enter the reincarnation cycle, but a powerful force had summoned him back. In that instant, his body seemed to transform once again, becoming even stronger. The only difference was that he could not take human form. However, that was enough. The beast transformation was what he liked. Long Fei was overjoyed at the reappearance of the Golden Lion King, and at the same time, in his heart, he was also thinking, Mother, is this your power? Why could she summon a Golden Lion King under the stimulation of metamorphic energy value? This had never happened before. Moreover, why did his mother tell the Golden Lion King back then that dying would be the biggest help to Long Fei? Had his mother thought of this at that time? Long Fei looked up into the sky and muttered, Mother, thank you. Regardless whether her mother was the system's owner or not, regardless of whether she was the one who arranged all of this. As long as she was aware that Long Fei was her mother, it was enough. Then, Long Fei then said, "Mother, I missed you so much." In the distance, the 18 oracles within the main temple all flew towards the Deep Abyss Mountain. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2079, What was he going to do? Chapter 2079, What was he going to do? With the death of the spirit demon emperor, the magic rule should disappear as well. However, the magic rule appeared out of nowhere and descended once again. Whose body did the Tao inheritance land on? No matter who it was, this person couldn't live. He had to kill the magic rule before he completely grasped it, so as to avoid any future troubles. 18 oracles rushed over. Each of them held a divine weapon in their hands. Although he was an oracle, to be able to be an oracle, his cultivation level was still higher than an ordinary peak, high god, powerhouse. No matter who it is, they have to die. The power of the ancient code is a power that our main temple controls. No one should even think about absorbing it. Back then, the king of assassins, Night King, and the master of the magic rule, the Golden Lion, were both out of the control of our main temple. The two of them are the living humiliation of our main temple, and the Night King cannot kill them. The main temple's gods discussed. 18 oracle were more than enough to deal with the new demon emperor who had just gained control of the laws. As long as the new demon emperor died, the magic rule would lose its inheritance. This way, it might be able to return to the main temple, and when the sovereign returns, he would definitely be able to give them the reward of this Tao. Thus, that was why they would work so hard to send out the 18 oracles. At the top of the sacred mountain, was secretly pleased with the Golden Lion King's summoning. At least, the Golden Lion King's revival made Long Fei feel a little comfort in his heart. He was alive, freshman, and it was even stronger. More importantly, the magic rule he cultivated and was still there, and it did not disappear when Long Fei burst out. Long Fei's mind was set, and he silently thought in his heart, "Now, let me see the power of the magic rule." The magic rule, its peak. Fuse. Buzz. The system released an explosive sound, and a powerful force directly surged into Long Fei's body. Immediately after, Long Fei felt his strength increase by a bit. And then, Long Fei slightly clenched his fists and slightly released the power of the magic rule. Boom! A loud explosion resounded. The aura released from Long Fei's body instantly turned into the color of gold, just like the air shields that were about to be released. However, the Golden Lion King was the same color as gold. The air shield that was released from Long Fei's body wanted to be as dazzling as the sun. The dazzling light became stronger. The Golden Lion King trembled slightly, looked at the air shield on Long Fei's body, and said excitedly, "Master, he is truly a god. He just obtained the inheritance of the magic rule, and in less than 10 minutes, he is cultivated to the highest level, admiring to the extreme." His heart was filled with incomparable shock. Indeed, it's as my benefactor said. He's a peerless genius. No, using the word genius to describe him is simply an insult. He's completely a monster. Long Fei sensed the defense of the air shield and asked faintly, "Is the power of the magic rule just defense?" His magic rule was indeed at its peak condition. However, he did not understand magic rule. The Golden Lion King immediately said, "Not only defense, the strongest power of the magic rule is offense. It can summon 10,000 demons and at the same time absorb their power into the body. Magic rule. The ruler of the demon clan, the demon emperor." Long Fei trembled slightly and asked closely, "If I used the magic rule in a place without demon beast, would I be able to summon the demon race?" The Golden Lion King said. Anywhere is fine. Damn. This is awesome. Long Fei had previously obtained a type of skill that could summon Demon Beast, but that technique was only a type of mental control. However, Magic Rule was different. Those who could be summoned by Long Fei were all demons loyal to the Magic Rule, and even more so to the Demon Emperor. This was the Magic Rule, the power of the Demon Emperor. Long Fei withdrew the power of the laws on his body and thought in his heart, the peak of the Magic Rule, the peak of the Sky Principle, the level at which I enter the Killing Principle, and also the level at which I enter the have not started cultivating the time laws yet. A sovereign? F***CK. Flipping. Long Fei clenched his fists tightly, looked at the space in front of him, and said, Zhan Wushuang, why don't you try again? At this moment, suddenly, the man took a step forward and said, Boss, someone's coming. 18 powerhouses. Long Fei slightly raised both his eyes. The corners of his mouth lifted, and he muttered, Someone from the main temple. As soon as he finished, the beast's tribes trembled, and many people couldn't help but tremble inwardly. Then, Guxiang Ancient immediately said, King Demon, you go first, we'll go first. Elder Lai, who immediately shouted, Warrior of the fierce tiger tribe, listen up. In your beast form, follow me and fight. The goblin wolf leader also shouted loudly, Demonic wolf warrior, listen to me, transform into a beast, and follow me into battle. Demon Emperor, leave quickly. Hurry up. The beast's Eriba had injured many people in the beast tribes and no longer had any fighting strength left. At this time, the appearance of the main temple made them even more flustered. Not to mention, of the main temple, a ruler of 100,000 planes. They were completely unable to move. Seeing the panic below, if not for the fact that Long Fei did not move, they would not have dared to flee. This was due to their reverence for Long Fei. If Long Fei was not here, they would have immediately fled in all directions, or even cause an incident where they were stomping on the ground. Guxiang Ancient said again, King Demon, quickly leave. Hurry up. Master, please leave quickly. My lord. They kept on talking anxiously. The 18 oracles got closer and closer. Long Fei stood in place without moving at all. The great Vajra, Li Yuanba, had a simple smile on his face, but he did not move at all. The same was true for the heavenly spirit dragon, subduing dragon. It stood there motionlessly as it looked in the direction where the 18 powerhouses had come from. There was no fear on its face. Instead, there was an indescribable excitement. Ziyu was quietly standing behind Long Fei. Hanba looked at Long Fei's back and said in his heart, Why isn't he afraid at all? That's right. Why would anyone who can pull Destiny God and Sky God down be afraid of the main temple? Fox race. If my husband doesn't want to leave, then neither will I. I'm not leaving either. Patriarch, if you want to leave, then go by yourself. You don't have a husband anyway. Looking at Long Fei, who stood there with his long white hair swaying and his clothes swaying, there was only one word in their hearts. Long Fei did not leave. They would never leave, because Long Fei was their man, the man they loved the most. As if she had received a 10,000 hit, the old granny looked at her clansmen and shook her head. A woman is not fit to stay. What kind of evil have I done? Even if others were to listen to me, my entire fox race has been destroyed. And then she looked at Long Fei and muttered, What exactly does he want to do? Chapter 2080, Monster Race, Fearless. Chapter 2080, Monster Race. Fearless, he didn't understand what Long Fei was trying to do. He should be running now. The only choice. The Deep Abyss Mountain is indeed a very special existence. Many tribes' high-level beasts can withstand the bombardment of the power of law. However, this was just a small part of it. Moreover, And this was only because of the Demon Emperor's power. If not for the Demon Emperor's deterrence, the main temple would not have tolerated the existence of the Deep Abyss Mountain. Now, the main temple took the initiative to attack. Their Deep Abyss Mountain only have one choice: hide. If he didn't hide like he did 10 million years ago and get blown up, this time a savior wouldn't appear. King Demon, quickly hide. Leave the rest to us. That's right. If we don't leave now, it will really be too late. The three leaders were incomparably frantic. It was as if they wanted to get someone to carry Long Fei away. If Long Fei did not leave, the people of Beast's tribes would not dare to move. Millions of years ago, their ancestors didn't die. This time, was it their ultimate calamity? Long Fei said lightly, "How many times have you guys escaped like this?" Huh. Goose Young Ancient and Goblin Wolf Leader were dumbfounded. Elder Lai Hu said, "Basically, whenever powerhouses appear, we will dodge them. Even if they pass by us, we have to hide." How many times do you have to ask? Then how many times has anyone heard about this in the past 10 million years? 10 million years. This fear had already sunk deep into their bone marrow, turning into the shadow of a nightmare. It was impossible to dispel, and it took root in their hearts. So much so that he was scared the moment he appeared. Long Fei felt pain in his heart, and he immediately said, "All right, from now on, you all no longer need to be afraid." Huh. King Demon, what do you want to do? Goose Young Ancient was stunned. Long Fei said, "I said, from now on, whenever Main Temple's people appear, I will give them a ruthless beating. Kill him once. You are demi-humans. This is your territory. The monster race has never been afraid. So what if you're a Main Temple? They are just the winners of a bunch of wars." As soon as he finished, buzz. Long Fei suddenly released the aura from his body. His voice turned heavy as he said, "Demon race, listen to me. You are a part of the demon race. From now on, do not need to be afraid of anyone from the Main Temple. If they dare to come, I will kill them all and make them go back." In that instant, Long Fei rose up from the ground. Whoosh! Li Yuanba followed closely behind. Shua! The spiritual chi of heaven and the descending dragon flew out in unison. They weren't afraid at all, because they were never afraid of anything. Even if a sovereign was in front of them, they wouldn't be afraid in the slightest. Because, to them, fighting together with Long Fei was a type of enjoyable feeling. 4 figures flew into the air. On top of the sacred mountain, the demon clan members stared in shock. What is he trying to do? Is the King Demon crazy? Don't tell me he wants to fight against Main Temple's powerhouse head-on. He must be crazy. Goose Young Ancient raised his head to look at Long Fei's distant figure, his heart reflecting, and muttered, "Haven't we been afraid of him for too long?" Elder Lai Hu said, "The strongest power in the 100,000 planes, who wouldn't be afraid?" Goblin Wolf Leader said, "Perhaps we're just afraid. If we cross over, just as the King Demon had said, the spirit demon race should be fearless." The Golden Lion King raised her head and repeated, "The demon race should be fearless. We should really be fearless. That's right. He's the one we need to wait for, the one who can lead us to the top of the world." While they were talking, buzz! A blinding light burst out from the Golden Lion King's body, and with a sudden movement, a golden light shot up to the sky, roaring loudly, "Monster race, fearless!" Boom! A loud sound exploded on the sacred mountain. Next, Goose Young Ancient also jumped up from the ground. "I am going to risk it all." Elder Lai Hu laughed. "I like the feeling of being fearless. Come." Goblin Wolf Leader laughed sinisterly. "I like it too." The leader of the 3 tribes rushed into the sky. The Golden Lion King also rushed up into the sky. What Long Fei said, especially the words demon race, should be fearless, caused the primitive savageness in their hearts to awaken bit by bit. More and more demon warrior rushed up to the sky and stood side with Long Fei. I want to go too. Big Sister slightly moved her head. The patriarch pulled her back and scolded her. Is your cultivation strong? You will be courting death if you go. Fighting is not something that our fox race is good at. Patriarch, he is my husband. I want to fight for my husband. Have you ever loved a man? Do you know what that feels like? He's my man, and I want to fight for him. Big Sister broke free and took a step into the sky. I want to fight for my husband too. Me too. Patriarch, you don't have a husband, so you won't be able to experience that feeling. Chief, do you know what love is? Chief, do you understand the feeling of being loved by a man? The grandma's steps were a little unstable. A single sentence was equivalent to a critical strike, and her small body was almost unable to withstand it. Too sad. He couldn't even breathe. In the end, only the twins were left to support her. She felt a little comforted in her heart and said, "Fortunately, the two of you are here. You two don't want to go." Bai Ling said, "Granny, about that, if you can hold on to the wall by yourself, we will also fight for our husbands." While they were talking, the twins flew out. The grandma's body shuddered, and she staggered back. She was so infuriated that she nearly vomited blood. Incomparable pain. Looking at the fox disciple flying up, she murmured, "I don't know what love is. You didn't know where I was when I was loved." Boom. Suddenly, the demon battle drum sounded out. One after another, the 18 war drums rumbled through the air, each louder than the last. In the sky, over 10,000 demon warriors stood behind Long Fei. Li Yuanba said naively, "Boss, everyone is here." Long Fei was also excited in his heart, looking at the 18 powerhouse getting closer and closer. He muttered, "Main temple, you F** king dog me like a ghost, right? F***CK. Who cares who you are? You have to die." Humph. A motley group of people actually dare to act rashly in front of us. A oracle, who was the first to arrive, looked at the black mass of land in the air and bellowed, "What a load of shit." Li Yuanba took the lead. With a leap, he directly jumped into the clouds. With both hands holding onto the giant spirit axe, he hacked down towards the head of the oracle. Walala! The battle was about to begin. Chapter 2081, Main Artifact Mission. Chapter 2081, Main Artifact Mission. He just didn't submit. It was tough. If you don't care about face, then you don't need to care about face. The moment there was disagreement, Li Yuanba would make his move. Moreover, his full strength exploded forth, crushing down heavily. All of the warrior in the demon race felt their hearts tremble as they said, "Isn't this too explosive?" In the sky, a vertical line that cut through the air fell down, directly hitting the top of the oracle's head. The clothes on the oracle's body exploded. His long hair flew in the air. He raised his eyes and sneered, "Humph! You overestimate yourself, little scumbag, and you think you can hurt even a hair on my head?" As soon as he finished, he took out something that looked like a seal. The seal sank and fiercely crashed into the sky. Boom! The sky exploded, and the world seemed to spin upside down. Long Fei and the others felt that it was fine, but Li Yuanba felt like an incomparably thick sky was crushing down on him, and he was unable to resist it. All of a sudden, the forehead of the heavenly spirit tightened as it disappeared from sight in an instant. The sky-flipping seal, demon warrior, frowned. The big size is in danger. It's too dangerous. What is the treasure in his hand? Too powerful. Big guy, it's dangerous. Li Yuanba did not cower in the slightest. He let out a deep roar and said, Who cares what it is? Even if it's the heavens, this daddy will still destroy it. The giant spirit axe in his hand slashed wildly. He slashed out 18,000 axes. The oracle sneered and said, even if you have trillions of your fighting strength, it would be in vain in front of this seal. Is that so? Just at this moment, an ice-cold voice resounded behind his ears. Oracle's pupils suddenly shrank like wheat. His facial expression changed drastically. You. Oracle's voice trembled, a chill rising in his heart. He did not even know who the person behind him was, so it was clear that how strong was this person's cultivation? He. A cold laugh like the weeping of ghosts. The heavenly spirit claw sunk. The dense power of the great ghost vein skill suddenly erupted and pierced towards Oracle's body. The speed was too fast. They simply did not give the Oracle time to react. The sky flipping seal could only deal with Li Yuanba. It was already too late to retract it. The sky spirit's hands pierced into Oracle's body like claws and laughed sinisterly. Go to hell! Buzz. A strong petrification force exploded inside Oracle's body. Oracle could not take it anymore, and his body kept trembling. His internal organs were constantly being frozen, and he could not feel his own heartbeat. No, don't. At this moment, Li Yuanba flew out and slashed the giant spirit axe in his hand. Boom! Oracle's body split into two. The sky seal fell down from the sky. The sky spirit caught it and threw it to Long Fei. Long Fei controlled his strength and held it in his hand. Looking at the divine seal, he said with a slight smile, something on the level of a holy artifact. Not bad. At this moment, the system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Heaven Flipping Seal. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering Main Artifact Quest. Damn! Main Artifact Mission? That sounds like a big shot, but isn't that amazing? Long Fei could not help but become excited, speaking of Main Artifact. Other than the Dragon Coffin S, he had nothing else. When Dragon Coffin became a training space, it would be more accurate to say that he did not even have an output-type main artifact. If Zhan Wushuang took out the main artifact, all of his attacks would be useless. The sudden appearance of the main artifact mission made Long Fei's heart go wild with joy. Mission level, SSS, quest time, infinite. Task reward, one of the main artifact. Quest description, obtain 20S and will be fused with them. Rob, this is the first time I've encountered a level 5 S mission, but 20 pieces of holy artifact, where do I get them? Long Fei looked at the mission description and his heart tensed up again. 20 of them must be from holy artifact S. The holy artifact S were not ordinary things. They were the peak quality of the holy artifact S. Obtaining one would be extremely difficult, and gathering 20 would be even harder than ascending the heavens. Fortunately, this mission had an unlimited time limit. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to complete. Just as Long Fei was struggling bitterly, 17 Oracle S landed on the ground in unison. And also, all of them held a different holy artifact in their hands. Perhaps it was a lute, or a zither, or an umbrella. All sorts of things. This made Long Fei think of the holy general south of the heavenly court in his previous world. The things that many of them took were also similar, no matter what these holy artifacts are. In short, now, they were all Long Fei's. Long Fei began to laugh wickedly. 20 pieces of holy artifact can complete the mission, but I suddenly realized that this mission is too simple. There are 18 of them here. Ha! The situation suddenly changed. 1 second, Li Yuanba was in danger, and the next second, Oracle was dead. What is the background of these two fellows? Is it a human or a ghost? What speed? What exactly is the power of that big guy? While they were discussing, as the 17 Oracle S descended, the demon warriors' gaze tightened. That primal fear returned to their bodies, and they started to worry. Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled. Boss, they are all holding strange, magical treasures in their hands. These magical treasures seem to be special as they all contain this formidable strength. For example, the person holding the pipa, look at the top of the pipa. Huh. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Luo Long looked at Long Fei, who was already gone. Li Yuanba and the sky spirit stood shoulder to shoulder, grinning from ear to ear, with a look of disdain on their faces. King Kong, how many do you want to fight? Li Yuanba laughed innocently. I'm full. The heavenly spirit rolled his eyes at Li Yuanba and said, Don't be so greedy. At least let me show you my abilities. While they were talking, one of the 17 Oracle S shouted loudly, A mere deep abyss mountain demon race dares to go against our main temple the most. Is he courting death? Yes, he's courting death. But you are courting death. Before he could even finish speaking, Long Fei's figure descended down. Without waiting for the oracle who was speaking to react, Long Fei's right hand moved. It formed into a palm. The power of the killing principle gushed out. Die! Boom! A palm struck onto Oracle's chest, causing his body to split apart. Instantly killed. At the same time, the system sounded out in Long Fei's mind. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing, Oracle for obtaining 100,000 experience, 100,000 holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining highest holy artifact, Ancient Pipa. As expected, Long Fei was overjoyed. With a glance, he swept across the 16 people and grinned. The 16 holy artifact S are all mine. My main artifact. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2082, King of Laws. Chapter 2082, King of Laws consecutive slashes. Only half of the 18 Oracle S remained in a minute. Only now did they clearly see who it was. Long Fei. It's Long Fei. It's Long Fei who killed Sky God and her. How could it be him? He's the new Demon Emperor. In the blink of an eye, everyone was in a frenzy. They did not think too much as they turned around to flee. However, Long Fei would not give them any chance. He released the Sky Principle and coldly laughed. The sky is my world. In my world, everything is under my control. Buzz. Shwa. His figure descended, slashing out with his blade. Another oracle was killed. A system notification sounded. Ding, ding, ding. The system beep never stopped. Long Fei liked this kind of rhythm, this kind of feeling. The man laughed. King Kong, don't even think about killing them. They are all the bosses. Ha ha ha. Li Yuanba laughed naively and said, Boss is boss. The two of them were very clear of Long Fei's strength. But Beast tribes did not know, but looking at Long Fei tormenting and killing them in the sky, all of the demon warrior S were in a state of shock. Isn't this too intrepid? So main temple's oracle is actually so weak. What's called bad? It's our king demon, all right? Ha ha. King demon is mighty and domineering. King demon, I want to give birth to your little monkey. For a moment, the beast tribes was in an uproar. However, the main temple was in a state of chaos. He unceasingly ordered the living oracle, saying, Come back, quickly come back. How could it be Long Fei? How could he be the new demon emperor? Did he obtain the inheritance of the demon way? If he has another rule, killing principle, sky principle, and the magic rule that was being fused not long ago with the support of 3 different sets of laws, who could still be his match. This, to be able to control a single law energy, not to mention the power of 3 law energies, it was extremely valiant. Long Fei had control over 3 of them, so it could be said that none of the gods in the main temple were his match. This was the reason why they were so flustered. Lord God hasn't come back yet. This Long Fei is growing too fast. He appeared in Deep Abyss Mountain because he wants to open the ancient passage. If he is able to open the entrance, then all of their faces changed. This was the time they were in control of. No matter how strong Long Fei was, as long as they hid in the main temple, there was nothing they could do about it. But once Long Fei opened up the ancient entry, the situation would be different. Once the battleground S were taken down, the established main temple would collapse. At that time, their divine sparks would fall, and the power of the ancient code they controlled would disappear from their bodies. They would become ordinary mortals. Their lifespan would rapidly decrease. He would die. Many people knelt in front of the main God statue and said, "Lord God, come back quickly. You can't let Long Fei continue to be like this." They were really scared. Just as main temple was in a state of panic, a figure broke out from the void. His body was suffused with a divine light, an intense divine light. An enormous aura surged out from the void, directly crushing the panicked aura of the main temple, causing every god's heart to tremble. Powerhouse! Super powerhouse! All of the gods trembled slightly, raising their heads to look. They had thought that the sovereign had returned. However, the figure hovering above their heads was not a sovereign. Instead, it was a young man. Son of God, Zhan Wushuang. Son of God. Shouldn't you be guarding the God's mountain? Why is he here? Many people were shocked that Zhan Wushuang had become a divine son, but they did not find it too surprising. However, the godchildren's mission was to protect the God's mountain, and not to let Long Fei pass through the ancient passage. Not in the main temple. Zhan Wushuang looked at the gods and coldly said, "It's just a mere Long Fei, and you guys are already in such a mess. What kind of logic is that? You are deities who are in control of 100,000 planes." The voice was very heavy. The faces of all the gods turned cold. An elder said, "You came here to teach us a lesson? If it wasn't to teach us a lesson, then you should have also taught yourself a lesson. If it wasn't for you, Long Fei wouldn't have become like this." Exactly. Teach us a lesson? You are not yet qualified. They were all gods. They were both gods who had mastered the laws, and they all had their own pride. Who would be afraid of them? Zhan Wushuang smiled slightly. Suddenly, his eyes darkened, and with a flash, he appeared in front of the old man. With a flip of his right hand, a large amount of black energy lifted the old man into the air, and he said coldly, "What did you say? I didn't hear it clearly just now. Can you say it again?" It was extremely cold. Furthermore, Zhan Wushuang made a move without giving the old man the slightest chance to react. It could be said that the old man, who also controlled the power of law, was someone who had fought alongside the sovereign. He could be said to be a powerhouse who had trained in the law of law. However, he was lifted up into the air by Zhan Wushuang's attack. Facing the black power released from Zhan Wushuang's hands, he had no power to resist at all. The entire audience was stunned. It suddenly quieted down. All of them had their eyes set on Zhan Wushuang, their faces filled with fear. They had never seen the power of this law before. A new power of law. The old man was raised into the air. His expression was ugly as he struggled to ask, "Zhan Wushuang, what do you want to do?" Zhan Wushuang laughed. "I don't want to do anything. I just want you to know that don't put up an arrogant front in front of me. If not, you will regret coming to this world." As soon as he finished, he withdrew his strength. The old man fell to the ground and staggered backward. His eyes narrowed. He wanted to counterattack. However, Zhan Wushuang's eyes carried a cold glint and said, "I won't give you a second chance." Zhang Xian felt a chill in his heart. The elder suddenly felt a wave of fear in his heart. He didn't dare to release the power of law that he was controlling, and instead said with a gloomy face, "What are you doing here?" Everyone looked at Zhan Wushuang. Similarly, they were afraid of his strength. Clearly, he had grasped a new power of law. Zhan Wushuang laughed coldly. "It's simple. I need each of you to provide me with the power of the code." The old man's brows tightened. "What do you want our power of law for?" Zhan Wushuang did not hide anything and said, "I want to become the king of laws." The faces of all of them changed. The sovereign of law, for Zhan Wushuang to say something like that, it meant that he wanted to rebel. Zhan Wushuang looked at everyone's expressions and laughed. "You guys don't want Long Fei to continue to become stronger either, right? I can stop him, but I need your power of law. I'm not asking for your opinion." Chapter 2083, 120 Power of Laws. Chapter 2083, 120 Power of Laws. His voice was filled with arrogance, the contempt of a superior. "It's not about what I'm talking about, but that I have to get it." The faces of the gods changed yet again. The old man said slightly, "Zhan Wushuang, even though you are the son of God, do you know the consequences of your actions?" The power of the laws was bestowed upon them by sovereigns. Sovereigns were the true kings of laws. Zhan Wushuang wanted to become the king of law. Was this to become a sovereign? Zhan Wushuang said, "Consequences?" The consequence would be Long Fei dying and the main temple not dying for generations. This is the consequence. And Lord God said that when he is not around, I will be the acting sovereign king. All of you must listen to my orders. Right now, I only need one strand of law energy from you. Remember, I didn't mean to discuss it with you, so don't challenge my patience." Zhan Wushuang said indifferently. Long Fei received a new rule. Zhan Wushuang felt an inexplicable sense of danger. If he let Long Fei become stronger, his God's Mountain would not be able to stop him, and he had to become stronger. After obtaining the soul of the sky god, his soul-controlling's power had advanced by leaps and bounds, and he had even completely mastered the power of the soul-controlling not long ago. A new law, the defense law, the laws of fate, and the soul-controlling that he had cultivated out, he had already mastered 3 of them, adding on the main artifact S. Between him and Long Fei, who was stronger? If Zhan Wushuang did not have confidence, did Long Fei still have any trump cards? Thus, he had to become stronger, be 100 times stronger than Long Fei, and use an absolutely crushing posture to kill Long Fei under the guidance of the Black Robe Destiny God. He needed the power of the laws controlled by the 100 gods in the main temple. He wanted to control more of the power of law and fuse it together to cultivate the strongest power of law, the power to control everything. "Come, I'll give it to you." An old man walked out and said, "Long Fei has risen up too quickly. If we do not stop him from entering the battleground, then it will really be too late. Zhan Wushuang, this is my power of law." Buzz. With a flip of his right hand, a surge of pure law energy appeared. Zhan Wushuang smiled faintly, and then many more of the Holy General S released the power of the ancient code that they controlled. This is the life laws. This is the laws of the earth. This is the law of strength. This is the law of growth. This is... One after another of the power of the ancient code surged out. Zhan Wushuang used a special bottle filled with strange symbols and stored all of the power of the ancient code away. There were a total of 120 types of law energy. Every god in the main temple gave him the power of law. Zhan Wushuang said, "Today's matter." The old man said with a smile, "A strand of law energy does not harm us at all. What happened today will not be discovered by anyone." Anyone, of course, included sovereigns. None of the gods present could match Zhan Wushuang's power. If one didn't give out the power of law, it might just disappear like this. Then again, they didn't want to see Long Fei become stronger, as they were afraid that Long Fei would enter the battleground. If that were to happen, their divine position would become impossible to protect, and it would allow Long Fei to become stronger. It would be better to let the divine child Zhan Wushuang become stronger. With the sovereign gone, this was the only thing they could do. After the sovereign returned, "Then let's talk about it." Zhan Wushuang laughed. "Very good. Don't worry. No matter what happens in the future, your divine position will not be threatened at all." After Zhan Wushuang finished speaking, he moved in the air and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Inside main temple, the gods looked at each other, and no one brought up what had just happened. It was as if nothing had happened. All 18 oracles have been killed. The eyes of all the gods narrowed, their hearts filled with rage. This time, "Long Fei, let's see how long you can remain arrogant for. Kid, you won't have much longer to live." God's mountain, Black Robe, Destiny, God saw everything that happened. Black Robe, Destiny God said slightly, "You really won't touch them?" Zhan Wushuang, who had just returned from main temple, had a cold smile on his face as he asked, "What do you think?" "The only law of this world is the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. A bunch of old things have long been eliminated by this world. The reason I don't kill them now is because they are still useful to me. When I become a law king..." "Ha ha!" Zhan Wushuang laughed sinisterly. Black Robe, Destiny God couldn't help but shudder when he saw his sinister expression. Zhan Wushuang laughed. "Relax, you have helped me before. I will not touch you. I will not treat you unfairly after I become a sovereign." "Right. Now, I've gathered the law energies of 120 law gods. What should I do now?" Zhan Wushuang looked at Black Robe, Destiny God. It was the Black Robe, Destiny God's responsibility for him to obtain the power of law when he entered the main temple. The Black Robe, Destiny God said indifferently, "I've read about a secret technique in an ancient book from the outer realm that can fuse all the strongest powers from another plane. If this kind of power is combined, it would destroy the heavens and the earth. The strongest power of 100,000 planes is the power of laws. 120 law energies, plus the law energies that you control, using the soul controlling as a guide, refining the strongest law energies. Once it succeeds, even sovereigns probably wouldn't be able to move it." Black Robe, Destiny God said excitedly. This was the reason why he had always wanted to cultivate the soul controlling, even at the cost of harvesting hundreds of millions of souls. Zhan Wushuang became excited and said, "Then let's begin. Long Fei will become the demon emperor. He will still need a long period of time to reach the extreme realm. He should be able to successfully cultivate it before then, right?" Zhan Wushuang's eyes suddenly became gloomy and cold. Black Robe, Destiny God immediately said, "I will do my best." "Long Fei." "Ha ha." Zhan Wushuang laughed coldly. Black Robe, Destiny God said slightly, "Is your target just Long Fei? Actually, the stronger Long Fei is, the more help you can get. When the third entrance of Battleground is opened, there will definitely be a change in the structure of the battleground. And the only way to control the 100,000 planes is to absolutely control the battleground." Zhan Wushuang looked at the Black Robe Destiny God and said indifferently, "If I absolutely control the battleground, then I can become the new sovereign." Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Zhan Wushuang laughed out loud. Deep Abyss Mountain. Long Fei came out from the Sumi rings. Just like before, Jojo continued to chase and kill him, but the word young master would occasionally come out of her mouth. However, she still wanted to kill Long Fei. Humph. Jojo, I will definitely think of a way for you to recover. Long Fei exhaled and turned to look at the 18 holy artifacts on the table. Main artifact mission. 20 of them go. 2 more. Where can I get 1? Chapter 2084. Sis, please spare me. Chapter 2084. Sis, please spare me. The holy artifact were different from ordinary holy artifacts. The word above didn't just refer to its level. It also meant something else. An ancient era. Thus, even if Long Fei could refine holy artifact, if he could even refine half a main artifact out, it would be useless because main artifacts were required for their mission. The ancient holy artifact of the 100,000 planes. There weren't many holy artifacts in the ancient era. The 100,000 planes had experienced countless wars and battles, and these holy artifacts had long since disappeared. Main Temple did not hold much either. Finding one was simply too difficult. Looking at these 18 holy artifacts, Long Fei exclaimed in his heart, the main artifact missions are truly not simple. At this moment, Li Yuanba walked into the room and said, Boss, there's something else. Huh. Long Fei's eyes lit up and he said, Quickly speak. Li Yuanba quickly replied, I asked the leader of the 3 tribes about some things regarding the Deep Abyss Mountain from them. Legend has it that this was previously a frozen plain. This vast and boundless mountain range was moved here by a super powerhouse. At first, the mountain range was very small. It was only a few tens of thousands of kilometers, but as time has passed, the mountain range has been increasing rapidly every year, and by now it has already reached tens of millions of kilometers in front of us. Legend. Under this Deep Abyss Mountain is a highest holy artifact called Earth's Plow. It has always cultivated for the Deep Abyss Mountain, allowing the space in front of the Deep Abyss Mountain to continuously expand, and also to protect the primordial god battle dimension. This is because only the Deep Abyss Mountain can block the polar storm, and if there is no Deep Abyss Mountain, the ancient god war is likely to cause one to enter the world of darkness. Long Fei sighed in his heart, the fearless Earth Plow, and he leads. Long Fei asked. Li Yuanba shook his head and said, Not at the moment, but Xiaolong has gone to survey the terrain and is training in hell to find treasures. That's why. Only by descending the dragon would he be able to stop Luo Li's escape from Night King Valley. Long Fei already had 2 main god fragment on him, so he wanted to destroy the refining mission in the dragon coffin cultivation mode. Then he would begin to embed the main god fragment into the Yama edge. It was just that the refining tasks had not yet been completed, so Long Fei could only put it on hold. Long Fei asked curiously, How exactly do you cultivate in hell? And did my father say anything to you? Of the 8 of you, only 3 have appeared. What about the other 5? Long Fei had always been curious, as Li Yuanba and the others had never told him about the bitter cultivation in hell. Li Yuanba scratched his head and said naively, It's like that anyways, everyone is different. He did not say. Li Yuanba was not good at expressing his feelings, and he would never tell Long Fei about him cultivating in hell, because it was really, really hard, unimaginably hard. It could be said that no one could withstand it. However, they endured it and did not regret their initial decision. Seeing that Li Yuanba was not willing to speak, Long Fei did not pursue the matter any further. Although he did not know what hell's bitter cultivation was, he could tell that it must be extremely difficult. At this moment, Dragon Subduing walked in and said, "Boss, the matter of the land plow has been resolved." Long Fei's heart trembled. The efficiency of the 8 King Kong was extraordinary. Long Fei immediately said, "Tell me." The Dragon Subduing boat said, "I have used my golden dragon to check. There is indeed an extremely powerful force beneath the deep abyss mountain that is supporting the mountain. This force should have been emitted from the plow of the earth. This is... Where do you want to start? I haven't found it yet." The heavenly spirit also came in and said, "I have to go to the various canyons in Deep Abyss Mountain. There is no entrance." The Holy Spirit is a Yuling guardian warrior. His body was even more special. To him, the bottomless abyss was like a drizzle. Han Ba and Ziyu also walked in and shook their heads. "Nothing much," Li Yuanba said. "Boss is going to the holy artifact important to you." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "It's all right." Hearing Long Fei's words, Li Yuanba immediately understood that the earth plow was very important to Long Fei. He rubbed his nose and then said, "If I can't find the way, I will dig a path and go in." He is Luby. As long as it was something Long Fei wanted, he wouldn't care about it. Long Fei laughed and said, "One thing, don't worry, I won't be able to get what I have here. There are other places." However, Long Fei looked at the 18 holy artifact on the table. He had a feeling that this main artifact was related to him opening up the ancient entry. Even maybe it was because he needed this main artifact to clear it. If this world was treated like a game, then the appearance of those 18 holy artifact in a storyline in front of the ancient entry was the appearance of a sovereign quest, and that was definitely related to the appearance of the ancient entry. Suddenly, the forehead of the sky spirit moved, and its body suddenly disappeared. A moment later, the heavenly spirit brought in the elder of the Fox clan and said, "Boss, she seems to be eavesdropping on our conversation." Long Fei felt his scalp go a little numb as he said, "Old Granny, I really wouldn't do anything to you. The Fox girl is a fox girl. You are the Fox girl. I can't take the Fox girl. And I also want to take your Fox clan patriarch as well, right? Sis, please spare me." My body really can't take it." What did he say? A woman like 30 wolves, 40 tigers, 50 groins that could suck dirt, 80 walls that could suck mice. The Fox clan leader was already over 300 years old. Who could bear to live here? This wasn't like sucking in mice through a wall. This was something that even tigers could do. The grandma coughed and said, "I know the secret of the earth plow." As soon as he finished, Long Fei's gaze tensed up. But seeing the grandma's gaze, Long Fei's heart tensed up, and he could not help but shiver, and said, "What conditions do you have? Other than my body, you can give me any conditions you want. Anything else?" He couldn't lose his footing. The old granny said, "The polar storm is about to arrive. The wild beast at the north of the Deep Abyss Mountain has come to the south side crazily, and I am not doing it for you. I am doing it for the life of the Deep Abyss Mountain. Holy **T. You're so great." Long Fei was a little shocked. The old granny chuckled. "I don't want you to do anything else. I just want you to watch the sunrise with me. There are still conditions." Long Fei muttered. The old granny said, "If you agree, I'll tell you. Only I know this secret. This is a secret that we, the foxes, have protected for generations. If you don't agree, then just take it as I've never come." Yes, Long Fei had a bitter face. If he did not agree, the old granny would not even say a single word. The grandma smiled evilly. Long Fei felt that he had been duped. "Thank you for your support." Chapter 2085, Superorganisms. Chapter 2085, Superorganisms. The main artifact mission could not be delayed, so Long Fei did not want to miss any of them. Also, the polar storm was getting closer and closer. The river to the north of Deep Abyss Mountain had already started to freeze, and a large number of wild beasts fled to the south. This time, the polar storm was stronger than ever before. As the new demon emperor, Long Fei had to consider the survival of the Deep Abyss Mountain's demon race. However, this was a natural disaster. How could one defend against it? He didn't have any leads right now, so he could only ask the people of the beast's tribes to speed up the construction of the cave, dig a hole, and quickly stock up on materials. Even a high god powerhouse would find it hard to endure the coldness of a polar storm, not to mention a beast's tribes. Fortunately, the beast's tribes had absolute respect for Long Fei and had swiftly completed all the tasks he had instructed her to do, other than studying the 18 Upper Sky Holy Artifact. Long Fei would also go into the Sumi Rings to chat with her every day, telling her about the things that had happened in the past. It didn't matter whether it worked or not. Long Fei said, of course. Jojo was still being pursued by the entire world. Xiao Yan, who was cultivating in his spatial ring, could not watch any longer. Several times, when he wanted to attack, he was stopped by Long Fei. He believed it. One day, Jojo's memories would recover. He firmly believed that this would happen. Other than that, Long Fei still had a large portion of time per day to take part of the time to enter the Dragon Coffiness, so he had to complete all of his cultivation tasks as soon as possible, especially the refining mission. The two main god fragment could not just leave it like this. They had to embed it within the Yama edge. However, none of the weapons forged by Long Fei could meet the requirements for the quest. Boss, the polar storm is getting closer and closer. The north side of the Deep Abyss Mountain is about to freeze. Li Yuanba walked in and said, Boss, can't we bring the demon race out of Deep Abyss Mountain? If even Li Yuanba said it like that, then how strong was the polar storm? He was not afraid of the heavens or the earth. However, when he stood on the mountain peak and saw that the north had become a world of ice in just a few days' time, his heart couldn't help but tighten. The power of nature was simply too terrifying. It was as if he couldn't move at all. Long Fei shook his head and said, the Deep Abyss Mountain is their homeland. No matter what happens, they will never leave this place. It wasn't that Long Fei hadn't advised her to do so. However, none of the tribes in the beast tribes had the intention to leave. This was their home. Entering the human world, they would rather stay here. Li Yuanba sighed and said, aren't you being too stubborn? Wait until polar storm goes over. Then we can come back. Must we wait here for our deaths? I really can't figure it out. Everyone had their own perseverance. Just like Li Yuanba being able to use his life to resist any kind of injury on Long Fei was his perseverance. At this moment, his teeth were chattering as he said, Boss, no, I really can't. I went to the north, and my blood vessels are about to burst from cold. No one can withstand it, and in the frozen northern world, not only is there cold, I can also sense a few dangerous auras. Although I didn't see them, I can guarantee that the thing emitting those dangerous auras is some sort of super creature. Boss, think of a way to leave this place. Those super organisms must have followed the polar storm here. Once the polar storm comes here, I'm afraid this place will become their slaughterhouse. The sky spirit began to worry. The aura he sensed from the north was not any weaker than the aura of a god controlling the laws in the main temple. 1 or 2 would be fine. But what if there was a large group? What would the result be? Because the demons of the Deep Abyss Mountain were also close to the extreme regions, their bodies were extremely tough, and the powerhouse could even withstand the bombardment of the laws. If so, what about the creatures that live in the polar regions? How strong were their physical bodies? It was unimaginable. Long Fei's brows tightened and asked, how is the construction of the bunker progressing? Li Yuanba replied and said, We will follow your instructions, build it south of the mountain. Food and fuel are also being prepared quickly. However, I'm afraid these things won't hold out for long. I heard from the elder of the tribe that once the polar storm appears, it will take at least half a year to finish. This time's polar storm is so strong, I'm afraid it will take less than a year for the Deep Abyss Mountain to recover. There were a lot of beast tribes' food shortages, insufficient fuel. In this situation, he wouldn't last more than a year. He was the demon emperor. He had to solve this problem for the monster race. Long Fei slightly said, I understand. I will think of a way. A spatial ring could contain a world, but there were too many demons, so they could not carry on with the act. Furthermore, even if they were allowed to enter the Sumi Ring's they might not go in. This was the greatest headache. Is there really nothing that can stop the polar storm? Or should I say, can we kill the polar storm? Long Fei thought in his heart, whether it was a human or a powerful demon beast. It was his first time encountering such a natural disaster. Ziyu walked in and said, Long Fei, the fox elders are here. Li Yuanba immediately laughed foolishly. The celestial spirit couldn't help but laugh. Long Fei glared at them. Humph! To get rid of the polar storm, Long Fei had to get rid of the old lady from the fox clan first. Letting out a deep breath, Long Fei forced out a smile and said, Let her in. Without waiting for Ziyu to shout, the fox family patriarch walked in. Moreover, she was dressed in white with 2 ponytails, and her face was covered with a thick layer of makeup. At first glance, just like an old hag, Long Fei's heart was trembling. The fox old lady grabbed onto Long Fei's arm and said, Let's go and watch the day leave. Long Fei wanted to die, but he couldn't refuse, so he could only bite the bullet and follow the grandma out. Ha ha ha, ha ha. The sky spirit was the first to burst out laughing. Li Yuanba also laughed innocently. Boss is boss, we eat each other. Ziyu rolled her eyes at them. You're still laughing? Humph! Ziyu gently stomped her feet and left with large strides. Although it was the old lady of the fox race, although she knew that she couldn't do anything to Long Fei, and Long Fei couldn't do anything to her, Ziyu's heart was still a little sour. This was a woman. Wow, the women of fox race are just not the same. King Demon, your beauty is extraordinary. Master, do you feel that your eyes are a little spicy? Grandma, you can do it. To be going on a date with the King Demon, that's too awesome. King Demon, how can you be with her? My heart is broken. Long Fei thought, my heart is broken too. Chapter 2086, Xianyuan Li-Er. Chapter 2086. Xianyuan Li-Er the grandma had a contented and complacent look on her face. Long Fei had a bitter look on his face, but he did not express it out loud. The two of them walked to the summit of the mountain and looked towards the east. At this moment, the cold wind blew, and the snowflakes fell one by one. Long Fei took off his jacket and hacked it onto the old granny's body. The old granny looked at Long Fei lovingly. Long Fei immediately said, I respect the elderly and cherish youths. Don't think too much of it. However, the grandma didn't change. She turned her gaze to the east and muttered, Back then, he did the same thing. He also cut my body. Her eyes were filled with longing, but the old granny let out a long sigh, then faintly smiled and said, It's just that he wants to go to the north, and I have to shoulder the burden of the fox race. Long Fei looked at the expression in her eyes and thought to himself, Wow, so it's someone with a story. Long Fei immediately asked, Why is he going to the north? The old granny looked at Long Fei. Like you, we will look for the ancient entry. And then Long Fei asked. The grandma smiled and said, Then she died. Holy sh*t. Longfei shouted. Aren't the scenes happening too fast? Completely unexpected, the old granny said, I know that you are the person of the prophecy, and I also know that you will not stay in Deep Abyss Mountain for long, just like how he was back then. Without waiting for her to finish speaking, Longfei immediately said, It's different. At least I won't then die. And then, there was no then. This was too tragic, the old granny said. Longfei, the extreme realm is truly dangerous. Many people know that thee is here, and you know that the people of the main temple are also aware that they won't let you pass. An additional entrance posed an additional threat to main temple. The appearance of the third entrance was absolutely not allowed. Longfei said, This world is filled with danger. If I'm alive, I should do what I want to do. I don't want to change this world, but I cannot let this world change me. What's in the polar regions? Longfei didn't know, but he knew that he had to do it. He had to turn main temple upside down, because this was the price one must pay for provoking him. Who cares about the main temple or the sovereign? Again, what was a sovereign? It was the most powerful boss in 100,000 dimensions, the final boss of a game. How could he not kill it? Only by killing the sovereign would he be able to clear the level. Only then would they be able to enter the universal large world. Only then would he be able to find his mother, explore the Dragon Manor, and go to the universal large world to fight for hegemony. Main temple must overturn it. The old granny looked at Longfei and said slightly, Since you do not listen to my advice, then I can't do anything. In these tens of millions of years, who knows how many powerhouses have ever wanted to go to the extreme lands to open up their ancient entry. The road to the extreme lands can be said to be filled with bones. Main temple is not that simple. Longfei said, I know, it's interesting only if it's not simple. That would be boring. The old granny wanted to advise Longfei to turn around, but it seemed that it was impossible, because in Longfei, she could see the shadow of the man she once loved. Ever since they left the Deep Abyss Mountain, they had never appeared again. There was only one outcome, death. The old granny did not speak again. After a long time, white color emerged from the east side. The old granny's head tilted slightly, gently leaning on Longfei's shoulder. Longfei did not refuse. Not long later, the bright red sun slowly rose, the earth woke up, and all living things were alive. So beautiful! The granny's eyes shone with a glimmer as tears welled up in her eyes. Longfei did not say anything, and just silently let her lean on. Half an hour later, the old granny regained her composure and said, Thank you. The secret of the earth plow is very simple. When the polar storm blows onto my Origin Fox Valley, he will appear, and he will release his power to resist the polar storm. But this time the polar storm is too strong. I'm afraid even the earth plow cannot block it. After the old granny finished speaking, she walked down the mountain by herself with a gloomy expression on her face. Longfei trembled slightly and muttered, Origin Fox Valley. And then Longfei looked towards the north again. The shockingly cold wind carried with it a snowy breeze. The wind was like a blade, and when it blew against his face, it felt like it was being sliced by a blade. With every passing minute, the intensity of the cold wind would increase. Looking from afar, the north was like an enormous mushroom cloud, a storm, a super hurricane-like storm. It brought the extreme cold of the polar regions here, as well as some incomparably powerful and dangerous creatures. Longfei clenched both his fists tightly and said, I will definitely block the polar storm. Boom, 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 God's Mountain, Zhan Wushuang's secret room. 123 law energies circulated around his body. Right now, his body was completely wrapped in law energies. Each impact brought a different response to his body. Every time, he felt a surge of power. He wanted to be king. If he was able to fuse 123 law energies together, he would become a true king of law. At this moment, Black Robe Destiny God walked into the secret room and said faintly, "You've found the woman you were looking for." Zhan Wushuang's eyes suddenly opened, revealing a sharp glint. He laughed sinisterly. "Xianyuan Li'er, we're going to meet again." Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Zhan Wushuang laughed wildly. Black Robe Destiny God did not understand. Right now, he did not have control over the laws of destiny, but his eyes were extremely poisonous, and he could not see anything special about Xianyuan Li'er's body. Why did Zhan Wushuang waste her life essence to find such a person? To deal with Long Fei, Zhan Wushuang controlled so many of Long Fei's female souls. What need was there for him to use her? He did not understand. Of course, this was the secret of their Zhan clan. No one else knew. In the Xianyuan nationality, a strand of power was hidden within Xianyuan Li'er's body. It was a power that could defend against any kind of sky law. He once wanted to use Xianyuan Li'er to help him block the heavenly tribulation. Now that he was a child of God, there was no need for him to undergo tribulation. However, if the power of 123 laws were to fuse together, it would undoubtedly be going against the heavens. It would definitely arouse the displeasure of the heavens, and heavenly retribution would definitely appear. Thus, Xianyuan Li'er could help him avoid this punishment. This secret was only known by the members of the battle family. The Black Robe Destiny God did not know either, and even Xianyuan Li'er himself did not know. Ding! Challenge failed. Boom! Long Fei was once again blasted out of the idea shattered. It was the same as dying once, but right now, Long Fei didn't feel anything at all. Countless attacks from Idea S, as well as their deaths, made him no longer have the slightest bit of fear towards death. He did not know why the Dragon Coffin S were acting in such a manner. However, he was really not afraid of death right now. Again, Long Fei once again entered the world of Dragon Coffin cultivation, refining method. I don't believe it. He threw himself in again. He was extremely serious. Boom! The weapon he forged in his hand formed once again. He thought to himself, will it be successful this time around? Ding! Chapter 2087, Forging a Main Artifact. Chapter 2087, Forging a Main Artifact failing again and again. Time and time again, he immersed himself wholeheartedly. Long Fei was like a warrior, defeat after defeat. He just didn't submit. It was tough. When the system beep rang out again, Long Fei's heart slightly tightened. After experiencing countless failures, he was able to succeed in every single artifact forging. However, he was unable to meet the requirements of a refining mission every time. The holy artifact that the giant dragon requested was truly extraordinary. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for successfully forging. Suddenly, Long Fei's mind relaxed and his body froze. His mind was completely blank, and without a thought he muttered to himself, "Damn, I've finally succeeded." It was also at this moment that the system beep sounded again. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing Forging Quest. Special reward, level +1, special gift box. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, Middle God level 3. Ding! Would you like to open the special gift box? A black box floated in Long Fei's mind. In the Dragon Coffin S, after completing a cultivation mission, one could obtain a special reward. Long Fei swallowed his saliva heavily and said, "Activate." The idea moved and clicked. The black box opened, and emitted a dazzling light. In that instant, a hammer used for refining floated in the light. The system beep rang. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Godly Refining Hammer. Blacksmith, damn, how good would it be to reward a holy artifact? Long Fei muttered as he checked the properties of the Godly Refining Hammer. His mouth grew wider and wider, and he was completely dumbstruck. Damn! An item from the Universal Large World. Item: Soul Refining Hammer Grade. Grand Mist Attributes. 80% bonus success rate. Top quality plus 80%. Top quality plus 50%. Top quality plus 10%. Description: the hammers used to refine Oracle S have a powerful refining force. The stats were simply exploding. To refine a hammer used by the Oracle, and to even refine the spirit inside of the Universal Large World, was definitely not ordinary. The colossal dragon produced a huge dragon's head and faintly said, "The soul refining hammer in your current world should be the best equipment for refining artifacts. If you don't pass the refining mission, you won't be able to use it. Now you can use it. Of course. Don't be too pleased with yourself. In the universal world, your current level of artifact forging can only be considered low-level existences. You still have a long way to go. Don't be arrogant." The colossal dragon was overjoyed. "Good boy, you are indeed not simple. You passed the second mission, just like that. Ha!" If not for Long Fei here, he would have rolled on the ground in excitement. Long Fei's refining skills were already at the peak of this world, but he was still at the lowest level within the Universal Large World. However, this was only the first stage of the training mission. There were also missions. The Dragon Coffin S wanted to turn Long Fei into an all-powerful existence. He entered the Universal Large World with an omnipotent posture. This was what the huge dragon had to do in the training space. In just half a year, Long Fei had already passed 2 missions this speed. I believe that Long Fei will reach the peak of his cultivation in less than 10 years. To a powerhouse, 10 years of time was equivalent to the flick of a finger. Long Fei said disdainfully, "I am proud, so what? TCH, I can't be bothered with you." Long Fei moved and left the training space. He couldn't wait any longer. "Yuan Ba, protect me. No one is allowed to go near my room. Keep it 100 meters away. No, 1,000 meters away." Long Fei said in a serious tone. Li Yuanba did not ask about anything and immediately replied, "Understood." He then strode out. Immediately evacuate the crowd. It was not that Long Fei was afraid of interference, but that he was afraid that he would not succeed in refining the main God fragment. If a failure resulted in an explosion, the consequences would be unimaginable. What happened? Is King Demon going to go into closed-door cultivation? What does King Demon want to do? What is it? Many demon clan leaders rushed over. Li Yuanba said, "As for boss's orders, all of you follow them. As for what it is about, I don't know." Ziyu, Hanba, the Holy Spirit, and the descending dragon all rushed over. They were all looking at Li Yuanba. Li Yuanba shook his head innocently. "I really don't know." In the room, heaven and earth as a furnace. Of course it's fire. Fire. Buzz. A ball of flames appeared out of nowhere and floated in front of Long Fei. Long Fei's right hand moved, summoning the Yama Edge. Next, he then took out 2 main God Fragments. Huff. Long Fei let out a light breath, letting his mind calm down, and without any distractions, his eyes darkened. With a move of his right hand, he took out the Godly Refining Hammer. Begin. In that instant, the Godly Refinement Hammer moved, and a fiery light burst out. Waves of intense light burst out from the gaps between the houses. It was incomparably dazzling. Everyone tensed up. The entire sky above Deep Abyss Mountain rumbled, as if it was a thunderclap that came from beyond the 9 heavens. Main temple. The aura of the main god fragment. Someone is refining a main god fragment. It's the direction of the Deep Abyss Mountain. Immediately, all the gods flew out and opened the eye of the void, staring at the direction of the Deep Abyss Mountain. At the same time, in the God's Mountain, Zhan Wushuang was frantically fusing with the power of the ancient code. Numerous patterns of the ancient code appeared on his body. Following these lines, 123 law energies slowly entered his body. Black robe destiny god stood at the peak of the God's Mountain and also looked in the direction of the Deep Abyss Mountain as he muttered, "The difficulty in refining the main god fragment. Is the main artifact about to appear? Boom, boom, rumble." Long Fei's upper body was naked. His muscles looked like they were cast out of copper water. Beads of perspiration rolled down his body. The soul refining hammer's power was extraordinary. Knocking on the main god fragment, a strong light burst out. It was unbearable. Boom. A loud explosion resounded. The first main god fragment was embedded into the Yama edge. A burst of black light burst out from the Yama edge, as if it was rejecting it. Long Fei swung his hammer down and shouted, "Calm down a bit." Buzz. The main god fragment was inlaid. Long Fei did not bother with it. He wanted to go all out to place the second main god fragment in, but it was just that. The socketing of main god fragment S was simply too difficult. One would consume all his energy. The second, the main god fragment, crazily resisted. Now, once he stopped the process of inlaid refining, the main god fragment would completely shatter, and his Yama edge would also collapse. F***, power of the shadows. The dragon-shaped mark on his right arm suddenly moved. Black energy filled Long Fei's right arm and struck the hammer downwards. The main god fragment was like a mouse that had seen a cat, socketed in instantly. At the same time, a system notification rang. Ding. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2088, Blade of Main God. Chapter 2088, Blade of Main God, a scorching aura. The frenzied power of the darkness. The flames on the godly refinement hammer. Long Fei's back was drenched in sweat. His entire body seemed to be releasing smoke, following the voice of the system beep in his mind. All of this was like a hot piece of metal that was suddenly thrown into water, releasing an ear-piercing sound, and then completely quieted down. Phew. Huff. Long Fei panted heavily. He was secretly nervous in his heart. Looking at the 2 main god fragment that were embedded in the Yama edge, he said softly, "It should be a success, right?" Doubtful. Long Fei didn't dare guarantee, because all of this could only be considered as a success by the system. If he failed in his judgment, then no matter how successful the inlay was, it would still be a failure. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for successfully forging. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for creating 1-star blade of main god. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for creating main artifact for obtaining a special reward, level +1. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, middle god level, 4. The system sounded out one after another. Long Fei was extremely excited. Success. It really did. Very excited. He quickly opened the system to check its properties. Item, Blade of Main God grade. 1-star, main artifact. Description. Possesses an extremely powerful attack, triggering the power of main god to instantly kill any god who controls the power of law. There is no excessive description. However, just one sentence was enough. As long as he activated the power of main god, he would be able to instantly kill any single god in the main temple. This was enough to prove how powerful he was. Ha ha ha. Enough. Holding the blade of main god in his hand, Long Fei could clearly feel the change in the power of the Yama edge. The dense power was hidden within the blade edge. It was a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. At this moment, Long Fei truly understood the meaning of God's power. Previously, he felt that sovereigns were just like that. The shadow of main god was crippled by the heavenly emperor. The words of a sovereign real face was definitely an extremely terrifying existence. Immovable, one-star blade of main god. Could the main artifact be divided into different levels? Long Fei muttered. He was a little confused. In the past, Dragon Coffin were also main artifact, but they did not show any star rankings. Was a one-star star high or low? Long Fei wasn't sure either. However, what he wanted to know the most was whether or not the blade of main god could destroy Zhan Wushuang's god's shield. This was what he was most concerned about. Zhan Wushuang's god's shield was a main artifact, and it should be the strongest defense within the 100,000 dimensions. Adding the defense law that he controlled, his defense would definitely be heaven-defying. Could the blade of main god be slay? Long Fei wasn't confident either. Looking at the new groove that appeared on the blade of main god, Long Fei said to himself, "In the future, at most I can embed a few more main god fragment. If one star is the lowest level of main artifact, then we can fuse it to the highest level, all the power of the slay." Just when Long Fei succeeded in refining the blade of main god, the sky above Deep Abyss Mountain exploded with noise. The main artifact really appeared. New main artifact. How is that possible? Isn't the main artifact something that only the sovereign can refine? It's impossible to forge it, right? What is a main artifact? Only sovereigns could refine holy artifact, and they could only be called main artifact, because that was the reason why he had the right to call himself main artifact. If it wasn't for the sovereign, it would be impossible to successfully refine it. And even if it was successfully refined, it wouldn't reach the standard of a main artifact. But after the 9 heavens exploded, the spirit energy dispersed, the golden light pierced through the clouds, and powerful energy surged crazily. The faces of all the gods in the main temple turned incomparably ugly. It should be Long Fei again. Seems like he really will become the greatest hidden danger of our main temple. He has even created a main artifact. If the god is not here, who can still be his opponent? If he's actually a battleground, then all the gods frowned. Long Fei made them feel fear. Long Fei's growth was simply too fierce, to the point where they couldn't rest in peace. On God's mountain, Black Robe Destiny God frowned. It really succeeded. We really made main artifact. Long Fei, you are really making me more and more excited. How strong is your soul? Your body? How much power do you have? Ha ha! The Black Robe Destiny God laughed sinisterly. He did not feel fear from Long Fei's strength, but instead became even happier. The stronger Long Fei was, the better it was for him. After Black Robe, Destiny God, obtained the Heavenly God's sword, he released his soul, but did not choose to reconstruct his body because he had to wait, waiting for a perfect body. To him, Long Fei's body was perfect. Boom. Outer regions, unknown places. The sovereign's eyes trembled. An array of light flashed through them. The loud noise from before resounded in his mind. This meant that there was a power that was beyond his control, or someone had refined a main artifact. Can it be that someone wants to overturn the heavens? At this time, an old man beside him asked, "Did something happen?" The sovereign's face returned to normal. "No, the old man said. Don't tell me that Brat did something again. The sovereign's gaze grew cold. It shouldn't be. He shouldn't be able to create something that is beyond my control just by relying on his power. The old man said, That's hard to say. Don't forget, he is the crystallization of the Dragon Manor and the Mu clan, and also the hope of Long Fei and the Mu clan. The sovereign immediately nodded. Yes, in front of the old man, sovereigns didn't dare to be disrespectful in the slightest. It was even more submissive. He knew very well what the status of the old man was. A small sovereign like him, who lived in 100,000 planes, wasn't even worth a fart in front of the power and influence behind the old man. He knew it too. As long as they could control or capture Long Fei, they would receive an incomparably lofty status. Long Fei, this was his chance. The sovereign said, Then I shall return to the 100,000 planes first. I will wait there for you all. The old man nodded and said, Go, remember. I don't want to see that Brat die. We want him alive. The sovereign bowed, then immediately said, Understood. The sovereign did not know what secrets Long Fei had, and this was not what he was concerned about. He was only concerned about his own future. As long as he could take Long Fei down, he would get everything he wanted. He had a big backer in the universal large world. As for Long Fei's secret, he didn't need to know. Of course, if he knew that Long Fei had the ancient inheritance on him, he probably wouldn't think so much. He transformed into a ball of light. The sovereign disappeared into the horizon. The old man's body trembled as he respectfully stood to the side. A man in white appeared out of thin air and said lightly, How is everything going? Don't worry, sir. I have already planted an idea on his body and will closely monitor everything. That kid will definitely not be able to escape from our grasp. F*CK. I'm at the boss nest now. F*CK. I'm at the boss nest now. As Long Fei became stronger, some of the powers within the universal large world had also become vaguely aware of him, especially the awakening of the ancient inheritance's power in Long Fei's body, although it was only a slight ripple. However, it continued to spread outward. Once the hurricane arrived, it would instantly become a super huge wave. The world that seemed calm and peaceful was actually filled with hidden currents. The Long residents and the Mu clan were also preparing quickly. Deep Abyss Mountain. When Long Fei walked out of the room, everyone kneeled down and kowtowed 1,000 meters away. They were shocked by the strong light in Long Fei's room, as well as the Thunder God, who was above 9 days old. Their admiration and respect for Long Fei had reached an unprecedented level. Long Fei immediately called them out. Li Yuanba and the others walked over to Long Fei's side and asked, Boss, how is it? Long Fei laughed. Done. Although Li Yuanba did not know what Long Fei meant by succeeded, it was clear that he had succeeded. Gu Xiang Ancient, Elder Lai Hu, and Goblin Wolf Leader walked over and reported on the progress of the excavation. After a few pleasantries, everyone withdrew. Long Fei once again took out the Blade of Main God and muttered to himself, The Blade of Main God possesses an extremely strong power to kill gods. Although the progress of the underground castle construction was very fast, Long Fei was not sure if he could withstand the attacks of the polar storm. What if he couldn't withstand it? The bunker was just a defensive measure. Passive defense was not Long Fei's style. I'm going to give it a try. And then Long Fei called Li Yuanba over. Ziyu and the others gave simple instructions, and then went to the north side by themselves. Li Yuanba and the others wanted to follow, but they were all rejected by Long Fei. What about the north side? Even if it was a sky spirit that went there once, it wouldn't be clear. Adding the super creature that was hiding in the darkness, it would be safer for Long Fei alone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With the release of the wings in the sky, Long Fei quickly shuttled back and forth in the air. After he entered the north side of the Deep Abyss Mountain, Long Fei began to feel a bone-piercing cold. Even though he was currently in the Middle God, he was still unable to withstand the onslaught of this kind of coldness. F***CK, this is too cold. Long Fei stood on top of a big tree. His bark was frozen, and ice crystals were hung all over his needles. This bastard's probably going to freeze by just peeing. Looking at the silver-white area around him, the snow had already reached a depth of several meters. Moreover, this was only the edge of the extremely low tempest. If it was the center, then what kind of temperature would that be? It was hard to imagine. Buzz. Long Fei activated his divine powers, turning them into energy to maintain his body's temperature. He watched as the gigantic whirlpool once again lightly stepped forward, and with a single step, he jumped towards the center of the whirlpool. Woo, 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 woo. Gulp. The cold wind howled like the roar of a hungry tiger. Thin lines of blood appeared on Long Fei's face. These were all cut by the wind blades when the cold wind hit his face. The closer they got, the colder it became. Not just cold. This place was like a zone of death, freezing Long Fei's speed, and even the power of his sky principles seemed to have frozen over. He had no choice. The only thing Long Fei could do was to descend from the sky. The tip of his feet tapped on the white snow. He didn't know if he came or not. After arriving at the north side of the Deep Abyss Mountain, Long Fei began to know that this polar storm was too terrifying. The bunkers he built for the beasts' tribes might not be of any use to him. The chill penetrated deep into the ground. Rumble! Suddenly, from afar, there was the sound of something collapsing, and the snow was rolling down. Long Fei tensed up upon seeing it. Damn, avalanche! Snow rolled down like waves from the summit of the mountain. The towering tree was instantly crushed and buried within the snowstorm. Long Fei did not dare to stay any longer, and quickly rushed forward. He pushed his speed to the limit. However, as the snowy wave got closer and closer, and just when it was about to reach but Long Fei leaped off the ground and released the power of the sky principle, flying straight into the air. Since he couldn't win, he might as well fly into the sky. This way, he would definitely be able to dodge it. Just when he thought so, a giant tree in the snow ferociously smashed down on top of his head. Crash! It tore through the air. Space itself began to distort. A black shadow appeared on the surface of the club, blocking all of Long Fei's direction. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. He immediately thought of the super life form that the heavenly spirit was talking about and thought to himself, could it be that you are a super life form? Then let me test you. While they were talking, Long Fei moved to the left and Tathagata appeared, throwing out a punch. Tathagata's figure also launched a barrage of attacks. Buzz. The Buddhist bell rang. An incomparable heavy force struck the huge club, and as the two forces collided, a loud bang resounded, sending streams of power flying outwards. But the huge hammer moved, slightly, and the power released was no weaker than Long Fei's power of Buddha. Moreover, it even wanted to get angry. The club leaned back, slightly, and once again increased its strength, slamming down heavily. Long Fei's heart went cold. Damn, what kind of monster is this? Zhang Xian was taken aback. Although the power of Buddha wasn't Long Fei's strongest strength, even a god who controlled laws wouldn't dare to underestimate it. But right now, he couldn't even break a rod. This showed how fierce the monster with the club was. Seeing that the hammer had smashed down again, Long Fei thought, no, I have to see what exactly you are. And then, Long Fei's body sank as he directly landed and rushed into the snow wave. Rumble! The huge rod came smashing down, but Long Fei did not smash down. It smashed half of the distant mountain slope into pieces, and gravel flew everywhere as if it was going to explode. Moreover, each piece of debris didn't fall from the sky, but vanished into thin air as if it had pierced through the void. This power, it could directly blast you into the void and make you disappear forever. Just like the power of darkness, it could absorb anything from one's body into a black hole. Terrifying to the extreme. Long Fei felt a chill on his back. So dangerous. If he had used his full strength just now, Long Fei could have been blasted into the black hole. Consequences. The more he thought about it, the more Long Fei's heart trembled faintly. Long Fei shuttled back and forth in the snow. Finally, when the snowy waves stopped, Long Fei saw a monster with a body as big as a small mountain whose fur was entirely white. Variant white ape. His body emitted a golden light. 2 pairs of white eyes stared fixedly at Long Fei, who was like a little dot on the ground. Not only that, the moment Long Fei stopped, dozens of pairs of white pupils within the forest emitted a cold light, and their bodies shone with the golden light of the boss. A terrifying aura began to emanate from the surrounding area. Their eyes were filled with hostility. It was accompanied by a heavy killing aura. Long Fei was startled and said, "Damn, I came to the boss nest." Chapter 2090, The Explosion of the Power of Main God. Chapter 2090, The Explosion of the Power of Main God Unexpectedly. Long Fei looked at the dozens of super-mutated boss monsters around him. The corners of his mouth curled up, but he did not run away. "Boss nest, I like it. Hee hee." Right now, Long Fei was already at the 4th level of the divine spirit realm. Generally speaking, high gods wouldn't be able to reach the boss level. Only the god who controls the laws of the main temple has the qualifications to reach the boss level. How difficult was it to find a boss? Now, how could Long Fei not be excited when there were dozens of bosses present? It felt even better than drinking it. However, Long Fei did not dare to let his guard down, as none of these super life forms were easy to mess with. The power that he had released just now was enough to tell that these fellows were extremely ferocious. Seeing that Long Fei did not dodge nor escape, the variant white ape closest to Long Fei, whose white pupils were dilated, "Wong! Be smite!" Boom! A loud sound echoed out in the air, and an extremely strong aura of a beast pressed down from the sky. Long Fei raised his eyes and said, "You can even release pressure?" Sure. His body moved, landing on another side. Boom! The place where Long Fei stood a second ago turned into a pitch-black pit, completely charred black. This was no ordinary beast's might. It was a fire attack. Long Fei curiously looked at the variant white ape. A mutated boss is truly not normal. Not waiting for him to finish. Another beast's might descended. Long Fei dodged once again, and the towering tree he was standing on immediately turned into ashes. Its destructive power simply seemed to be able to destroy the heaven and earth. Good job. Awesome. Long Fei was even more excited. The stronger you are, the more excited I will be. Looking at the variant white ape's powerful strength, Long Fei became even more excited. It was because of this kind of boss that he was able to get such a good item. Maybe to be able to produce holy artifacts. In that instant, the beast's might roared once again, but this time Long Fei did not dodge. And with a thought, he said, "Then it just so happens that you practice the blade." Buzz. The blade of Main God was summoned, and Long Fei slashed at the beast. Boom. The beast's might was immediately cleaved into 2 halves. Long Fei didn't even have the chance to stay in the air for even a moment, and his Sky Principle's speed explosively increased. In an instant, It landed in front of the variant white ape. The blade of Main God flashed with a blinding white light. Long Fei roared. Cut! Boom! The variant white ape did not dodge. In that situation, he could not avoid it either, and was shocked even by the blade of Main God in Long Fei's hands. The blade of Main God slashed down. It landed heavily on the head of the mutated white ape. Boom! A loud sound echoed in the sky. The variant white ape's body sank. Rumble! Its enormous body caved in. The surrounding snow rose into the air, and the towering trees were affected by the blade of Main God's chi and intuition, causing them to be uprooted with extraordinary power. It was impossible to put into words. Long Fei was also secretly shocked in his heart. Main artifact is a main artifact. This power, a complete mess suddenly. The scene could be said to be as devastating as pulling apart dry weeds. A complete mess. The variant white ape, not far away, all trembled slightly, and their throats let out a low growl of fear. The dark and cold light that flashed in their white eyes became even stronger, and their vicious aura became even stronger. However, they did not move. He was like a spectator. He didn't intend to help. Moreover, their eyes were filled with the same disdain, because the variant white ape that was cut down by Long Fei did not die, but fresh blood flowed out from the top of its head into its eyes, making it look even more sinister. Long Fei's face darkened. Before the system's notification sound could ring out, he had already realized that the variant white ape was not dead. But he never thought that not only was the variant white ape not dead, it could not even be considered heavily injured. At most, it was just a superficial wound. This was abnormal. Long Fei felt very bitter in his heart and said, "I think I've refined a fake main artifact. Your sister. Didn't they say that releasing the power of Main God would instantly kill any god who controls the laws? Now we can't even kill a demon beast. What the heck?" Long Fei complained. As the variant white ape slowly rose up, he did not think too much. The first thought that appeared in his mind was, run. He turned around. The speed at which the Sky Principle was released to the limit. Whoosh! He instantly flew out. However, the instant he flew out, the variant white ape swung the huge club in its hand horizontally. Long Fei's pupils shrank quickly as he looked at the empty space behind the hammer. Terrifying. His mind stirred. Ding. Target locked. Ultimate boxing. Bang. Long Fei roared out, his fists sinking. He instantly threw out a punch. It was not towards the variant white ape, but towards that huge hammer. If he did not shatter it, it was very likely that Long Fei would be smashed into a black hole. Rumble! 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 Bang, 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 bang. Ultimate boxing unleashed its power to its limit, causing the rod to shatter, but it only shattered the hammer, not harming the variant white ape at all. This was the first time. The first time he didn't even meet his target. Gudong, the words of the Sky Spirit are indeed true. These super beings are too terrifying. Long Fei thought in his heart. In the end, how will I be able to unleash the power of Main God on the blade of Main God? That strike just now was only the normal power of the blade of Main God. The power of Main God did not erupt. This was also where Long Fei got a headache. Maybe this was because of a one-star main artifact. When the variant white ape saw that Long Fei had broken his weapon, he became even more furious. He pounded his chest with both hands and roared. The towering trees were uprooted. He once again smashed towards Long Fei's head. Long Fei was also very unhappy. It's just a demon beast. Lousy still can't kill you. Shwa! Long Fei rushed forward, with blade of Main God in his right hand, The blade of Main God streaked across the white snow as though it was cutting through stone and continuously released sparks. Long Fei's mind moved. The idea rushed into the midst of the blade of Main God. At this moment, energy surged. The blade of Main God erupted with a burst of strong light, and in that instant, as if it sensed an opportunity, Long Fei took a leap. Boom! He pulled onions in the dry land and jumped into the air. The variant white ape ferociously smashed the towering tree in its hands. It also slashed through the air. Long Fei slashed down. Power of Main God, explode. Boom, boom, boom. Above the 9 heavens, the power rumbled. The 100,000 planes trembled slightly. The power of Main God was a power that combined the powers of 100,000 planes. The power of Main God was the power to control 100,000 planes. Under this, everything was an ant. Long Fei bellowed, "I do not believe that I will not kill you this time. Explode for me." Boom. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2091, Hard-Shelled Polar Storm. Chapter 2091, Hard-Shelled Polar Storm. This slash was not comparable to the previous one. This was the explosive slash of the power of Main God. All below the sovereign level were ants. The blade descended. The towering tree turned into powder. The variant white ape's eyes stared angrily in that moment. His body was stiff and motionless. All of the wind in the valley, all of the hostility from the super life forms had been annihilated by Long Fei's blade, and not a single sound could be heard. A pin drop could be heard. Long Fei landed, looked at the motionless variant white ape in front of him, and saw that it had not sounded immediately. The blood groove on top of the variant white ape's head really was rapidly decreasing. Half a second later, a string of damage appeared above its head. 9999999999999. Too fast. Long Fei did not have the time to count them. He only saw that the variant white ape's body was covered in a mist of blood, and when the blood was drained from it, the white ape's body trembled. Boom! The huge body fell to the ground, causing a large amount of snow to splash out. Blood gushed out from the wound, forming a red gully in the middle of the snow. Dead. A one-hit kill. At the same time, the system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing variant white ape for obtaining 39,000 experience, 20,000 holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the power of variant white ape. Do you wish to fuse them? Congratulations to the player Long Fei for obtaining the arm of the variant white ape. Do you wish to fuse it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining body of variant white ape. Do you wish to fuse it? A series of notifications exploded. This feeling was very refreshing. The only thing he was unhappy about was that he did not reveal that Long Fei desired. All of the things that he had dropped were the energy of the variant white ape itself, and the rest were the energy from the variant white ape's body. After Long Fei had fused with all of these things, his power increased even more. Moreover, he can transform into a beast. The beast turned into a variant white ape. However, Long Fei didn't have the mind to think about any beast transformation state right now. His forehead was tightly locked, and following the death of the variant white ape just now, the surrounding dozens of variant white ape let out angry growls. The evil aura that had been exterminated by Long Fei burst out. It crushed everything in its path. Long Fei's heart tensed up. His right hand held the blade of Main God tightly. He didn't know how he had released the power of Main God just now, but since it could be released the first time, then it could be released the second time. Long Fei was not afraid. He shouted in a deep voice, "Come!" The blade of Main God in his hand pointed. Buzz! A wave of blade chi burst out, forming a rumbling sound that shook the entire valley. The surrounding variant white ape were even more furious. They took a heavy step towards Long Fei, staring at him with their white eyes. Their killing intent was extremely strong. There was a deathly silence in the valley. The variant white ape approached Long Fei step by step, surrounding him tightly. Long Fei's small body was only the size of a grasshopper to them, but because of their fear of the blade of Main God in Long Fei's hands, they did not rashly charge forward. Long Fei did not rashly attack, even if he had blade of Main God now, and it had an incredibly powerful power of darkness, but he didn't have the slightest confidence. These variant white ape were too powerful. It was completely unlike the creatures on the surface of 100,000 planes. If they were to start a war, Long Fei's life was on the line. Therefore, he didn't rashly make the first move. The atmosphere was filled with the smell of gunpowder. The slightest spark could cause an explosion, but at this moment, a voice suddenly came from afar. It was also the low cry of the white ape. At this moment, the eyes of the dozens of white ape surrounding Long Fei changed. Without stopping, they quickly retreated. Rumble! Rumble! In less than half a minute, dozens of white ape had disappeared without a trace. They could not even sense their chi. Huff! Long Fei breathed out heavily and sat down on the snowy ground. His back was drenched in cold sweat as he muttered to himself, "Damn, that was close. What is the background of these variant white ape? The voice just now should be their leader. If that's the case, that guy should be a super boss, White Ape King. Why did you summon them to leave?" Under those circumstances, as long as he gave the order to attack, it would be difficult for Long Fei to escape. If these guys go to the south side of Deep Abyss Mountain, beast tribes will become a slaughterhouse. No one can stop them. All these variant white ape are boss-level monsters. What realm is that White Ape King is strong in? Unimaginable. Long Fei's mind trembled. They followed the polar storm. If they can stop the polar storm, maybe they can stop them. Long Fei started to think. He took a small breath. Looking at the gigantic rotating clouds in the sky, Long Fei moved. Beast form. Boom. Long Fei's body instantly turned into a variant white ape. At this moment, it was as if he could not feel the slightest bit of coldness, and his entire body blended in with the extreme cold, making him feel extremely comfortable. Is this what's so special about variant white ape? He propped himself up on the ground with his legs and fiercely charged forward. Boom! With a loud sound, Long Fei's enormous beast body had already leapt a few hundred meters away and smashed a few towering trees into pieces. It was in a complete mess, but Long Fei's beast body, on the other hand, did not have the slightest trace of injury. This beast's fleshly body was very powerful. He was not afraid of the cold. The defense of the body was extremely strong. Long Fei did not stop for a moment and quickly rushed towards the center of the whirlpool. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions could be heard. Long Fei was like a wild horse that escaped its reins. There was no restriction at all. However, when he rushed towards the direction of the huge whirlpool, a white fur on a snow mountain not far away was shining with a silver light like a variant white ape looking at him. His pupils were not white, gold. The top of his head also grew a golden fur. Variant White Ape King. Below the mountain, over 1,000 variant white ape were kneeling. Wallala! Wallala! Outside the huge whirlpool, a blizzard covered his line of sight. The strong wind was like many cold blades blowing out. Long Fei was unable to get close. All of the hair on his body had been cut off. Moreover, as he neared the vortex, he felt the cold that seeped into his veins. He couldn't feel the cold from 100 miles away, but he could feel an incomparable cold from within the whirlpool. If it were a human body, they would probably freeze over in less than a minute. This low temperature, absolute zero, he couldn't take it. Huff. Long Fei was unable to move forward, but he had to give it a try. Try it anyway. Hoo. Yi Zichen let out a few quick breaths. In that instant, Long Fei moved and recovered his real face. At this moment, it was as if his entire body had frozen over, and even his blood vessels were about to be frozen. The power of the darkness. Chapter 2092, Ancient Undead Legion. Chapter 2092, Ancient Undead Legion Dragon-Shaped Mark. The power of darkness. According to the giant dragon, it was the sign that the ancient inheritance would awaken, although it was not the power of the ancient inheritance. However, the power of the darkness was extremely powerful. It had the power of zero. This power was called Zero Seal. Once released, to be able to absorb the opponent's cultivation, strength, and speed into the black hole, turning him into an ordinary muggle, this kind of power was extremely terrifying. However, it would similarly bring a huge danger to Long Fei, because its release would absorb all the holy power value in Long Fei's body, and in that case, he would no longer have anything to rely on. Releasing it in front of the polar storm was something that he could not do anything about. The closer they got, the more worried Long Fei became. He was unable to withstand the power of this natural disaster. Power of the shadows. Long Fei did not hesitate as the idea moved. The dragon-shaped mark on his arm flashed, turned black for a moment, and the tens of millions of holy power value in his body suddenly disappeared to zero. Buzz. It was like a cluster of black flames. To attack the polar storm. Devour. Long Fei's mind tensed up. He no longer had any holy power value to support his beast transformation, so he was unable to summon his golden lion king. The power of the darkness. He was risking everything on this. If he didn't succeed, then he would freeze to death. The ball of darkness entered the polar storm. Long Fei clenched his fists. I have to succeed. The polar storm suddenly turned from silver gray to black. Long Fei's eyes flashed. Is it done? The power of the darkness was extremely powerful. It had a powerful devouring force. As he watched the vortex turn black and the surrounding temperature become colder, Long Fei was secretly delighted in his heart. This was clearly a sign of success. Slowly, the black vortex weakened. It thinned out. Long Fei became even more excited. Ha ha! Polar storm. So what? I'll do the same. When he was truly excited, all of a sudden, Long Fei's heart sank. This feeling was familiar to him. It was the same feeling he had when he was being stared at by a god for the first time. He couldn't move from head to toe. A strong binding force was imperceptibly binding him. Unwell. It was extremely hard to bear. Long Fei felt that his life was in the hands of someone else, and if he moved even the slightest bit, he would die. This feeling made him furious, extremely displeased. The return of a sovereign. Long Fei's heart trembled. It was also at this time that Long Fei focused his eyes, and his expression suddenly sank. Within the huge whirlpool, a large group of people stood together. All of them were clad in golden armor. Every single one of them gave off a suffocating and terrifying aura. Moreover, their faces, all of them had skull-like faces. The leader of the group was a general who was riding a large horse and also a skeleton. Long Fei was staring at him with empty eyes, making him unable to move. Long Fei never thought that there would be a death legion hidden in this vortex. Even the lowest level warrior was at the peak realm of a high god, and the general was at the level of a god who controlled laws. What sort of army was this? 100,000 planes had such an army, even if there was. How could the main temple tolerate their existence? If such a legion were to appear in the battleground, I am afraid, in less than a month, main temple's position would be lost. Buzz. The Sleeping Beauty suddenly woke up, and a surge of power surged out. Long Fei's consciousness moved suddenly and woke up from his astonishment. His back was drenched in cold sweat, and his heart skipped a beat. The Sleeping Beauty was slightly moved and said, "Master, these fellows are in danger. Leave quickly." Even the Sleeping Beauty had said that they were dangerous. This showed just how terrifying they were. Damn! Where did the Death Legion come from? Long Fei muttered as he turned to flee. At this moment, there was nothing he could do. If he looked at that general in the eye, he was afraid that he would really die here. The Sleeping Beauty said, "These undead are the ancient legion from the 100,000 planes you are in. They are the people who once controlled the 100,000 planes." F***CK. No wonder. Even if he's dead, why stay in this world to scare people? Long Fei ran out frantically. He despised them in his heart and hated those things that were not completely dead. However, suddenly, Long Fei's gaze darkened, his body suddenly stopping as he muttered, "You said that they are people who once controlled 100,000 planes. Then they must have a lot on them, right?" Long Fei was just like a madman. His thoughts were completely different from ordinary people. At this time, he should have sped up his chrysanthemum escape. Yet in his mind, he thought that these ancient undead legion had good things on them, good equipment. If he wasn't crazy, then what was he? And at the moment when Long Fei suddenly stopped, the black vortex that had reached the top of the sky suddenly disappeared. And in that instant, a hurricane once again appeared in the sky with a loud noise, turning into a silver-gray vortex in the blink of an eye, frantically attacking Long Fei. The cold wind was brutal, unstoppable. The power of the darkness had indeed swallowed the polar storm. After absorbing it into the black hole, Long Fei could clearly feel its presence. Its power was beyond doubt. However, the power of the darkness could only devour the polar storm once, and he was unable to devour it twice. However, the polar storm was not a storm at all, but was specially released by these ancient undead legion. The polar storm was terrifying. However, these ancient undead legion were even more terrifying. Just as Long Fei was hesitating to stop for half a second, the storm was fast, and ice arrows that were like sharp arrows shot out from the whirlpools. It instantly slashed through the air. Every single ice arrow was filled with the power of death. 10,000 arrows shot out, blotting out the sky and blotting out the sun. Long Fei's eyes froze for a second, and in his heart he shouted out, F***CK. The Sleeping Beauty cried out in alarm, "Master, be careful!" Long Fei instantly felt like he was pissing his pants as he started to run. Under the situation where he wasn't provided with any holy power value, he was completely unable to do anything, no matter how fast he was. It was still not as fast as those arrows. "I'm going to be a sieve." Long Fei shouted in his heart. At this moment, roar! With a roar, a golden light fell from the hillside. There was a huge black shadow hiding in the snow. When Long Fei saw this, he exclaimed in his heart, "Oh no, this time we're really done for." It was a super variant white ape. A variant white ape with golden fur on its head. Pincer attack. Long Fei had no way out. The Sleeping Beauty's brows tightened, and a ray of light shot out from her body. Just as Long Fei was on full alert, the variant white ape heavily descended. It did not pounce on Long Fei, but landed behind him and stretched out its huge body. Rumble! Next, 10,000 ice arrows fell. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Asterisk, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, an ear-piercing sound rang out. Poochie! He spat out a mouthful of blood. Long Fei turned his head to look. The variant white ape had blocked all the arrows for him and was heavily injured. He was startled for a moment and did not wait for him to react. The white ape grabbed Long Fei and flung him fiercely. Shwa! It was like riding a rocket. He instantly threw it into the forest. At the same time, the variant white ape king turned his head and looked at the polar storm. His golden eyes widened, and he exhaled a breath of air. A loud sound echoed out. Tens of thousands of snowflakes flew in the air as his body heavily fell onto the ground, landing thousands of miles away, terrifying to the extreme. The polar storm let out a mournful roar, and the tornado became even faster as it continued to wreak havoc. Chapter 2093, Ancient Giant? Just you wait. Chapter 2093, Ancient Giant? Just you wait. Bam! Long Fei descended from the air. Because their speed was too fast, Long Fei was unable to control himself and heavily smashed down, but he was still unable to do so. He did not hit the ground, but a soft spot on the ground. When he stood up and looked, he was standing on the back of a variant white ape. These variant white ape were truly fast. Long Fei was secretly shocked. Did that white ape save me? If the variant white ape king did not block 10,000 arrows for Long Fei, and Sleeping Beauty took action, Long Fei would naturally not die. However, Long Fei did not know that the Sleeping Beauty would make her move. Thus, even if the white ape king did not block the arrow, he was already dead in his heart. Maybe the god's immortal bead could revive him again, but after that, he would still die. If he did not get killed by the ancient undead legion, he would also freeze to death. In this kind of place, Long Fei definitely had no chance of surviving. Long Fei climbed up to the top and saw that the white ape king in front of him still had tens of thousands of arrows on him, and his heart couldn't help but sink. I killed your brother, yet you saved me this favor. I, Long Fei, will engrave this into my heart. He felt guilty, as if he had felt Long Fei's emotions. White Ape King turned and looked at Long Fei, and then continued his assault. Swift charge. It was like a huge avalanche. The north side of the entire Deep Abyss Mountain continued to emit loud booms, causing Li Yuanba and the others to feel uneasy. Will the General Assembly be all right? Such a loud fight. What exactly happened? No way. I want to take a look. Hearing the loud noise coming from the north, he felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles, and wished that he could fly to Long Fei's side. Li Yuanba muttered, "The boss doesn't want us to go. It's just that he doesn't want us to burden him. If you head over now," Ziyu said anxiously, "let's go take a look. I have a bad feeling that something has happened to Long Fei." Xiaolong said, "The 8 of us are here for the boss. If something were to happen to him, and we are not by his side, what qualifications do we have to be called 8 King Kong? Go find the boss." The sky spirit stood up and was about to leave. Li Yuanba said loudly, "Sky spirit, you stay? I'll go." The heavenly spirit turned around to look at Li Yuanba. "Why would you go?" He knew the danger to the north. Li Yuanba also knew that none of them wanted the other to take the risk. Li Yuanba said, "Right now, the tribe is still unstable, and we need someone to take charge of the situation. You are smarter than me. It would be better if you stayed. As for me, my skin is thick, and I can withstand the cold." The Holy Spirit said, "Tall guy, do you think I'm stupid? Is your brain retarded? You'll be in charge of the overall situation. When I go and look for you, I am much more sensitive than you. I am the most suitable candidate. Li Yuanba did not allow him, and said, I am King Kong, and my boss' words are orders if he is not with me. You stay and I'll go. Finished. Li Yuanba then walked out of the tent. The heavenly spirit grinned with a look of displeasure on his face. Is the great Vajra amazing? Every single time, they would use the King Kong to pressure me, even though he complained. However, the sky spirit could only stare and shout towards where Li Yuanba had disappeared. Tall guy, be careful yourself, or else I might come over to collect the corpse. He was worried about Li Yuanba. As he looked back, he saw that the dromedaries in the tent had also disappeared. Holy **T. Just me? The sky spirit was in a bad mood. Ziyu said, who told you to be the youngest? 8 King Kong, Yuling Guardian Warrior, was ranked last. This was what the sky spirit was always unhappy about. Bang, bang, bang. In a valley close to the south, the variant white ape stopped and stood densely packed around the entire valley. At first glance, it looked like the valley was filled with snow. Long Fei also jumped down from the white ape and walked in front of the white ape king. During this period, all the white ape in the valley were looking at Long Fei. His eyes were filled with hostility because Long Fei had killed their brother. They didn't understand why the white ape king wanted to save Long Fei and even heavily injured them. All of this was because of Long Fei. Long Fei did not care about their hostile glares, walked to the front of the white ape king and bowed, saying, Thank you. The few white ape truly pulled out the ice arrows from white ape king's back. Even if these ice arrows met the flame, the sunlight would not melt. The hardness of this ice was comparable to steel. Looking at the ice arrows that were pulled out from his back, these ice arrows were all as thick as a thick javelin. Any one of them would be able to pierce through Long Fei's body and pin him to the ground. Blood gushed out from White Ape King's back. Each arrow was like a gushing spring. However, White Ape King did not even frown. There were many faint scars on his body, his chest, for limbs, and even his head and face. Long Fei was secretly shocked. He took out some healing pellets from the space ring and said, These will help your injuries. The instant he took out the medicinal pills, a few variant white ape immediately approached Long Fei, the hostility in their eyes growing. Just like how Long Fei wanted to poison White Ape King. White Ape King glared as he reached for Long Fei with his huge palm. Long Fei placed the healing pill on his palm. White Ape King didn't hesitate to swallow the whole bunch of healing pills. Maybe it was because his body was too huge, so the medicinal effects couldn't spread in a short time. There was no reaction at all after consuming a bunch of healing pills. Long Fei was a little embarrassed. Half an hour later, the arrows on White Ape King's back were all drawn out and placed together. They looked like a small mountain. Long Fei was secretly grateful in his heart. With the release of the medicinal properties, White Ape King's wounds were blocked, and his complexion had also improved. Long Fei asked, Why did you save me? I killed your brother. You should have seen it with your own eyes. White Ape King looked at Long Fei and said, I need your help. He opened his mouth to speak. Long Fei didn't find it strange. This kind of super creature naturally knew the human language. Long Fei asked to deal with the ancient undead legion. The White Ape King was surprised. He never thought that Long Fei already knew that the undead legion was formed from the ancient giant of the 100,000 plains. And then the White Ape King nodded his head heavily and said, Right, can you help us? Long Fei exhaled and said with a bitter smile, You saw what happened just now. You saved me. So how do you plan to deal with those ancient giantess? It was very obvious that Long Fei was not a match for those ancient giant. Adding on the cold aura of the polar storm, Long Fei was simply unable to get close. White Ape King said, "As long as you agree to help, I have a way." S eyes flashed a ray of light. Those ancient giant S wanted to explode even in his dreams. As long as there was a way, how could he not explode? Seeing White Ape King's serious look, Long Fei was excited in his heart and said, "As long as you have a way, I can fully cooperate with you." Ancient giant, right? Damn it, just you wait. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2094, Heavenly Treasures? Chapter 2094, Heavenly Treasures? The dynasty was changed, and the powerhouse was replaced. This was the law of survival. If the 100,000 plains were mountains and rivers, then the current ruler would be the main temple, and the sovereign would be the emperor who commanded these mountains and rivers. The dynasty that he overthrew thousands of years ago was where Long Fei had only just met the great ancient giant. They had once controlled 100,000 plains. However, they did not die a stiff death, and their souls did not enter hell, forming the zombie-like bodies they were now. But after 10 million years, their cultivation had only been deprived of the power of law, and their cultivation was still the cultivation of the main temple's gods, which made them extremely strong. Even in certain aspects, they were even more difficult to deal with than the gods who controlled the laws of the main temple. Because they were already dead, they were not afraid of any harm or pain, and could even revive after death. They were not restricted by any power. The power of the ancient code in the main temple could not restrain them, and the laws of the infernal realm could not restrain them. This was their most terrifying aspect. To Long Fei, they were also what made him the most excited. He needed to go on the holy artifact to complete the mission, but other than the earth plow, there was no news from the other holy artifact. The appearance of the ancient giant shocked Long Fei. These bosses would definitely have holy artifact on them. So what was the best way to kill them now? As soon as they died, the polar storm would naturally disappear. It was not a natural disaster, but something ancient giant made to deceive people. Boom, boom, boom. The variant white ape carried Long Fei and quickly rushed to the other side. Just the two of them. The variant White Ape King had a way to deal with the ancient giant, but he didn't say what the method was. He only told Long Fei to follow him. Long Fei did not ask in detail. You'll know when you get there. Long Fei was a little interested in the reason why White Ape King wanted him to deal with ancient giant, and could not help but ask, "Your cultivation is very strong, and you have over 1,000 variant White Apes. Why are you afraid of them? Also, with your strength and the power of the White Ape tribe, I can't help much." The variant White Ape King said, "They are the last superpower house who controlled 100,000 plains. Their vengeful spirits were not dispersed, and their corpses were thrown into the extreme regions, wanting to use the extreme regions to suppress them. But what the main temple did not expect was that not only did the extreme earth not suppress them, it gave them the conditions to reach innate realm. You saw that leader. He was a former sovereign, the king of laws of 100,000 plains. Although he has been stripped of all his power of laws. But the White Ape King hesitated for a few seconds, then continued. For him to be able to control the polar storm, he must have grasped the frozen end laws or the storm's laws, or he could also grasp two types of law energies at the same time. It's the same for White Ape Tribe. We were originally living in the extreme, and the reason we appeared here was because they quickly rushed us here. Once we leave the extreme regions, our survival will become problematic, and our lifespan will quickly decline, so we cannot go too far away from the polar storm, nor can we get too close to it. They just want to grab onto our weakness and use us as a vanguard." The White Ape King said with hatred, "Every race had its strengths and weaknesses. The variant White Apes had powerful physiques, and shocking strength. However, they couldn't enter the tropics, so they could only survive in the cold. They did not want to leave their homes. They wanted to return to the extreme regions, and after entering the Deep Abyss Mountain, their bodies would begin to show strong reactions. Long Fei nodded and said, "You all are unable to leave the extreme regions." The White Ape King replied, "Yes, we must return to the polar world as soon as possible, otherwise my race will be exterminated. I need your help." Long Fei said, "You saved me before, so I will do everything I can to help you. At the same time, I will also help myself. I am the demon emperor of the beast tribes. I also want to help my beast tribes deal with the threat of polar storm." White Ape King said, "I can feel the magic rule from your body. That's why I chose you." Long Fei was slightly taken aback, then said, "You've lived in the extreme regions for generations. Do you know of the existence of the ancient entry?" "Ancient entry? You want to enter the battleground?" White Ape King's rapidly dashing body suddenly stopped. Long Fei's body slightly trembled and almost fell off White Ape King's back. The White Ape King's eyes trembled as he said, "If we could enter the ancient entry, do you think those ancient giants would abandon everything and seek for distance? It's impossible to reach ancient entry. I can't get in either. If you are going to the extreme regions for the sake of the ancient entry, I advise you to give up." After White Ape King finished speaking, he started to run again. Even the ancient giant could not be reached. They were super powerhouse who once ruled over 100,000 planes. Even they couldn't get in. What kind of monster was hidden in the ancient entry? Seems like it is extremely difficult for only the legendary ancient entry to enter. But Long Fei grinned and said, "At least it really exists. As long as there was an entrance, there had to be a way. No matter how strong the bosses in the game were, they would have a way to take them down. And it was the same for the ancient entry." If Long Fei wanted to enter the battleground to fight for himself, the ancient entry was his only way. Moreover, he had to go in. He had to get rid of the main temple. They charged all the way. After a long while, the White Ape King finally stopped. It stopped in a valley covered with white snow. No vegetation could be seen. Besides the thick snow, there was also snow. Long Fei jumped down from White Ape King's body and asked, "What's here?" White Ape King said, "Wait a moment." As soon as he finished, White Ape King suddenly stood up with a stretch of his forelimbs. His arms that were tens of meters long shot out into the sky, his fists clenched tightly as he smashed them downwards. It tore through the air. The thick lines of strength stripes were clearly visible. This power, it was shockingly large. It crashed into the ground, causing the thick snow within a few kilometers to be sent flying into the air. The ground shook, and the mountains shook, which was extremely horrifying. The valley also revealed its original appearance after a thick layer of snow flew out. The surrounding rock walls were as sharp as knives. In the depths of the valley, there was a cave. The cave entrance was not big, and only ordinary humans could enter. A thick layer of snow shook open, and a red light flashed in the cave. Red light leaked out one after another, illuminating the entire valley in red, as if it was on fire. Long Fei was startled. This is the sign of a treasure dropping from the heavens. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.